Here, here we go.
It's not quite Christmas, but it's basically Christmas. How are you?
Yeah, I'm jolly, very jolly.
Jolly. I am more than jolly. You should see my belly right here. It's full of
Christmas
McDonald's from
cheer.
tonight.
Oh, that too.
Yes. Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
But Christmas cheer especially. You've been well. We've been talking off and on a lot today. I think we've made plans to go see Sonic 3 this week. That's really exciting. I'm stoked about that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Talk to me about this Drakengard boss because it sounds like it gave you a real pain in the neck this weekend.
Yeah, it
This past
kicked
weekend, I
my
should say.
butt.
We're in the weekend now.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
past weekend it really kicked my butt.
What is-
I don't wait. So I won't go into too much detail because it's a really interesting boss. I don't want to
Okay.
spoil it for anyone, but that final boss will kick your butt, and I'm at the point to where I'm not even making attempts on it right now. I just don't have time to make attempts on it right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just setting it aside. Like,
Sure. I
it's
guess
a
what I'm
really
really
cool boss
asking,
concept.
what I'm really asking is like the human condition, like the actual mechanics. I'm sure you'll get into it at a later date. How do you feel? Let's break it down.
Yeah, I
Feel
mean,
kind of beaten down.
not really. I was at first, but now I've kind of just gotten over it. I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe I'm getting too old for this sort of trolly Yoko Taro sort of final boss, and maybe I just need to do it when I'm feeling in tip-top shape. And I wasn't
Sorry,
feeling in tip-top shape when I was making attempts, and so yeah,
Gotcha.
I was just letting nerves get to me and stuff like that, and yeah, I wasn't.
So
It was
what
fun
I'm
making
hearing
attempts,
is you're
but
fair. What I'm hearing is you're getting rinsed and you're just shrugging it off like it's not a skill issue. But okay, I hear you. I'm totally kidding. You'll get into that at a later date. You plan to talk about
yeah,
Drakengard
yeah, I'll
in
do
a
a
long
dreaded
form.
backlog on it in a long form. I'll
Sweet.
probably make like a Substack post. So
Ooh, okay. That's exciting. I like reading. Reading is good. I was thinking about doing that for some metaphor stuff too, but I don't want to steal your thunder, so I'll
no,
let you
go
pump
for
that
it,
out,
man.
and then probably beginning of the year I'll really get into metaphor.
Yeah,
Um,
I
and
just
kind of
want to gather my thoughts on it. So that's probably not going to
totally.
come out like this week, but it'll probably come out hopefully before the end of the year. That'll come out.
Yeah, for sure. It's
So
holidays. I mean, we're gonna get this out early. I
yep,
think that's fine. We're just
yeah.
playing games.
I've
Yeah.
got a crash course coming this week as well. I'll just go ahead and tease it here. I
Yeah,
was
please.
really like struggling what I wanted to talk about on Crash Course. I want to talk about the Dreamlight games at a later date, so I have time to just like go through and play some games and really collect my thoughts on that because that's an important topic for me. But something that I can talk about at length, I think, and do justice is a topic that is a little bit I guess what's the word it's a topic that's kind of hard to describe, I guess. But the topic is just going to be about chasing that feeling. It's going to be like what it's about, and that feeling is just whatever sort of like world building, lore, or anything
Hmm.
like that in like a game series that makes you just feel passion for
Yeah.
games, so that
It's like the juice conversation.
yes,
it's that nebulous je ne sais quoi you're following.
yeah,
I totally understand what you're saying. I mean, I talked at length about this. Like the things that have that special something, that moment, that fleeting feeling that you're trying to chase. I totally get you. That's
yeah,
yeah,
it's like
I totally
feeling
get it.
nostalgia for something that you've never even like touched before. That feeling is sort of like what it's gonna be about. It's like times where I've like encountered a new thing, and I'm like, wow, I've never like, I don't have any nostalgia for this, but I'm already feeling nostalgia for it. It's like,
It's like innovative euphoria almost.
yeah,
It's like inspiration. Like
yeah,
it's like a breath. I totally get what you mean. Um, yeah, that's interesting because that's a topic you can kind of wax poetic on and really drill down in an emotional way.
yeah,
And I love those concepts and those ideas. Getting into a crash course with that specifically, I think that's probably my favorite thing I've done for the kind of solo pods is the games that have the juice. And
yeah,
I want to do a part two of that sometime on,
yeah,
as kind of an evergreen thing, just like games that are special, why they're special, what makes them interesting. I think that is fun. It's almost more interesting than knowing if a game is good or not. Because all the games I selected are good, but there are some games that are like aren't as good that have that special something. Like for
yeah.
instance, um, have you ever heard the game Brink at all?
No.
It is exactly no one has, no one really cares. It was this Bethesda published Splash Damage game. Splash Damage is the developer. They are usually a port house, but they were equipped to make this game that is basically like I don't know. It feels like before the advent of like squad-based shooters and live service games, it was kind of doing that, and it kind of was in the horde-based mission structure of like a Gears sort of thing, but it wasn't quite a shooter. It's super interesting to see what it is. It's like a different genre entirely. But that's like one of those games like I think is bad. It's not a good game, but it has that sort of like they almost were there, they didn't quite do it. There's like things
Yeah.
wrong with it. I would want to
I
get
play a lot of games
um,
like that, so I get that.
yeah, games that are like really shoddy, but they have interesting ideas, like games that have some amount of juice, but not the full squeeze, if that makes sense. Um, but yeah, that's super interesting to look forward to for sure. So what kind of games are you kind of looking at? I don't know if you want to spoil it, but
Yeah, just like games that I think have interesting world building and lore. That's kind of where I like if a game has an world that feels like alive and interesting and homey to me. That's the sort of games that I like to interact with on that sort of level of like really diving deep into that game's world.
Mhm.
I like those types of experiences that really just like have a living, breathing world. So
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to hear about that. I love topics like that so much. It's a you know sometimes it's not a visual representation; it's that feeling that you're chasing. So
yeah,
excited to hear you get into it. This is random. I wanted to bring this up. This was random. This is like real life games. Kids were just having fun yesterday, and I'm not trying to be a weirdo. I was just trying. This is just an anecdote. I was just driving home from work. I think what was it yesterday, the day before. I saw some like kids just whacking a cardboard box, and I'm like, it's so simple, right? It's so simple. And for okay, so I was rounding the corner. Not to kind of tell you the layout of my town, but I was rounding the corner from my kind of the road leading to my job, and I kind of crest this drive, and I see these kids to my left across the street. Pardon me, kind of just smacking the crap out of this cardboard box. I'm like, man, if only things were just more simple like that. Because I remember doing stuff like that.
yeah.
We would straight up have full on neighborhood lightsaber fights. Everyone had those collapsible lightsaber fights. This was like right when episode 3 of Star Wars released. Everyone had a collapsible
Oh yeah.
lightsaber. You could buy them at every Kmart, when Kmarts were still around. And we would have just full on lightsaber wars. And it kind of just I'm like, that's what I was doing when I wasn't playing video games. I was like doing that sort of thing. And it brought about a wave of nostalgia for me. I don't know. It was just something
yeah.
that was pretty potent for me the other day. I was like, man, kids just aren't out like that anymore, you know. Um, and I think I think I've heard some stories about Toy Story 5, where they're going to talk about like devices and media and how they kind of are influencing kids now, and toys are getting kind of forgotten and left behind. And I feel like that's kind of like a version of a toy where you're just out beating a piece of cardboard. It
Yeah.
was just a very, very potent thing I saw, and I was like, huh, kids just aren't doing that anymore. And so it kind of like came off as odd. I was like, what are these kids doing? I was like, oh, they're playing outside. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I
it
mean,
used to be a common occurrence.
yeah, and that's something like, that I definitely like to certainly talk about is like how games can, bring people together, get people, out of, these, just superficial, social media circles and things
Yeah.
like that, that just like aren't really, developing people's developing their relationships with each other and
Mhm.
as a community, and so but I think
Yeah, for
games can
sure.
be a good tool for that sort of like getting people into deeper talks about things and deeper circles, and just sharing positivity. It's like games can be a good space for that as well. So it's
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, totally. It's like one of those things with you and I that games was always the like, it was always the meeting point for you and I, but it
yeah,
fostered conversation.
yeah,
It was our excuse to hang out. Like when we played video games, we hardly ever did it online.
yeah,
Like you and I would go to your house.
yeah,
I would stay the night. You would come to my house from time to time.
yeah.
But it was mostly us hanging out with video games as the excuse. And we just talked about things and shared our life together. That
Yeah,
was the
we
excuse,
a
right?
lot of times we wouldn't even talk about games. We just talk about
Yeah.
our lives when we were playing games. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
and that like that's why couch co-op is so important. For games, like
Yeah.
keeping that alive, keeping couch co-op alive. Like online's great. I
Mm-hmm.
love the connectivity of online, but too much online, you got to foster your local communities. There's always going to be local communities if you're in any sort of city. Like just get out there and find a local community that's passionate about your
Mm-hmm.
hobbies, whether it's games or anything else.
Yeah, like game stores are good for that. There's a local place around here called the Arena, here in Salina, and they have like community board game nights, so they run D&D, excuse me, campaigns, and they just have people hanging around,
Yeah,
and they're people that have gone out of their comfort zones to meet folks with like-minded ideas of having
yeah,
fun. Um, and it attracts people from every stripe, every color. That's really interesting to see people that are not really social at all becoming social because they're engaging in a hobby they can all interact with, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Um, it was just a little anecdote that I was like, you know what, that is something that kids do not do. You do not see kids playing outside. You just
Yeah,
don't. Not anymore. And some of it's good because there's a lot of weirdos out these days, but
yeah,
it's a time long gone. Like I can count like or not count. I can really remember the time where it just cut off. It feels like it was the advent of the smartphone, and then everything just kind of went downhill. Like I feel like our generation was the last one to really have time outside, and these kids now are just they're inside hanging with their friends, and their playground is whatever social circles they inhabit, either at school or online. Right? Um, yeah, it was a very it was a very sober thought. It was kind of bittersweet thinking about that. I'm like, okay, it's good to kind of have this outlet for these kids, but they're kind of missing the flavor of the world they're inhabiting sometimes. So it's just a different culture these days. But anyway, wanted to bring that up to you. So, and the next thing, this is kind of a meme. The whole CEO thing. Did you see this whole Luigi holding the
yeah,
smoking gun thing? Like,
yeah.
what do you make of that? This has been on Twitter like crazy. Just like Luigi for Mario
Uh
holding
huh.
a P90
Yeah,
or whatever.
people just they kind of comment on the whole situation with that.
It's a big
Yeah,
situation. Yeah.
yeah, and
And I don't
they
want to make it political, but yeah.
right. They commented on it in like just sort of these like I guess for lack of a better word sneaky ways, like it because
Yeah.
I watched this one video on a Magic the Gathering Commander deck that was all built around this event, and
Oh
the
my
whole entire
goodness.
time he's like he's like trying to say like, oh, but it has nothing to do with anything that has gone on recently, and then he like proceeds to explain like the entire like state of things and why we've come to this point, and it's like, yeah, sure, yeah, you're not saying anything, I understand, and you just do you.
Yeah, I
It's
saw a
pretty
really
funny.
funny. Yeah, people are being very covert about how they
Yeah,
feel about it, while also not being covert.
yeah.
The funniest meme though I saw about this was Luigi holding the weapon that killed Shinzo Abe, and I was just like, "Oh God, oh God!" What did he 3D print this, or did he just make this out of a box of scraps like Tony Stark? It was just.
Yeah,
It's a very serious
it
situation, but
is. Yeah, I mean, there
it
was
is,
loss of
but
life there, and so it is a not great way to do that.
yeah, I would say the political stance of this person n- makes sense. It makes sense for what is
Yeah,
stated. I don't agree with how he went about
yeah,
demonstrating
absolutely.
this, but I'm sure that CEO was a POS as well. So it's kind of you make your opinion based off of that, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's hard
I
to
just wanted
tell
to bring
how
it
he
up,
was
but
as a individual person as well, but with the way
yeah,
things are in healthcare especially,
right. I bet
it's
this
hard
guy had
to
kids,
justify
and yeah,
some things as well. So it goes both ways. It definitely goes both ways, and it's hard to take a stance on it. So we don't do that
yeah.
here at Stick Drift. We don't we're not here
No,
to make a
I
stance or anything. We'll talk about things time to time, but we won't make a you
yeah.
know.
The only reason I found it funny is just the whole co-opting Luigi for Mario in this entire thing. He's just been embroiled in hot water. It's like one of those things where a guy has a similar name to
Yep.
someone that's been convicted of something, and they're
Yep.
like, "Oh God, my mentions are gonna get blown up." Luigi's feeling that way. So,
That's
there
pretty
were
great.
some funny memes about a real situation that's happening. So
Yeah.
I didn't know if you'd seen any of that, but how could you
Yeah, I've
not?
seen a little bit of that,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, but no political stances here. That's kind of how it is. But
Yeah.
we were talking about some Marvel Rivals, so catch me up. How many hours have you put in so far?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, what is that? Oh no, is that 50 hours I'm smelling?
Probably around there, yeah.
Ooh,
44 hours, 46
ooh,
hours.
that was
So
a good guess.
that
I
was a
gotta
good
say, that
guess,
was a good guess.
yeah.
It wasn't just
Um
me totally snooping on your Steam page the other day.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm absolutely in love with the game. I mean, it's a really fun hero shooter. Just so many characters, so many play styles that you never have nothing to do. You're like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
want to try out this play style. I want to try out this character." And so that's I just when I get tired of playing the same character over and over, I'll just find another character, start learning them. And so right now I'm trying to learn Hulk. He's a pretty difficult character to play, but he's a lot of fun when you get him down. So
Yeah, it's seems like there's like a lot of diversity. There's a lot of like things to learn still.
yeah,
Um, and the developers I've heard, they don't believe in nerfing characters. They believe in buffing other characters or like
yeah,
characters to kind of meet the level. So, it's going to be interesting to see how new characters get involved with new synergies and
yeah. Saying a
that
lot of
stuff.
the characters that are like top tier right now. The main reason why they're top tier is because they're getting seasonal bonuses for this season 0. So they're getting
Mm,
bonuses to like their health, to their damage, whatever. But um, so that puts them at a higher level, automatically than characters that don't have those sort of seasonal bonuses. And that's just kind of how they've decided to spice up this game. So
yeah.
instead of like having to buff and nerf characters to make them feel different, they just will be creating different seasonal bonuses and different seasonal synergies for characters. And that's how I understand that they're going to keep the game fresh without
Hmm.
actually what you were saying, like nerfing characters. So
Yeah.
but
So
yeah,
they're basically like introducing new metas like every season, it feels
yes,
like.
yep,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
that's
that
fine.
makes
I
sense.
mean, that promotes having a diverse character roster, that you're capable of using. There's a lot of things in this game that promote not just playing the same character over and over. There are things that promote that in the game as well. There's like proficiency with the character and things like that. But there's also things like the seasonal bonuses that will go away, and that character won't be as powerful anymore. You'll have to accept that when that seasonal bonus goes away, and so you'll find characters that feel a bit lower, but may just prop up when they get those seasonal bonuses without any sort of balance changes at all. So
Gotcha. Yeah, so I've played a couple matches since we talked last week, but it's really been for me finishing some games. So I plan to come back into it after I finish Persona in January. But it's definitely something I'm going to return to and play. I think a lot more of when I have the time, because January is like relatively slow when it comes to like newer games. But then February, there's kind of some stuff that I'm interested in, like Avowed and a couple other things that are kind of big deals. I'd have to see what games kind of are kind of releasing, but there's some bigger stuff kind of waiting in the wings.
yeah.
So I'll probably dip back in. Like I said last pod, I played a lot of Wolverine, a lot of Spider-Man. I'll probably pick a character and stick to it. That's kind of how I was with Overwatch. I played a lot of Tracer, a lot of Lucio, a lot of Reinhardt. But I'm gonna kind of come to it as I have nothing else to play. I think that'll be fine. That's how Overwatch was. That's how Fortnite was. Like, they are my filler games.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of really not playing a lot of Fortnite because you kind of play Fortnite, you play it, and there's different flavors to the pizza. Like, pizza's good. Having pizza every day, no good.
Yeah.
And it's hard to make bad pizza. That's how Fortnite feels.
Yeah.
It's reliable, it's good. There's a lot of it, and it's kind of very similar. So I'm stepping away until I feel the urge to come back. And I feel like the urge for Fortnite for me recently has just been like skins. And
Yeah.
at that point, I'm just spending money. So I could spend money buying full games at that point
Yeah.
because every skin's like $20. So yeah. And I'm sure for Marvel Rivals, once I find a character I like, I'll want to get a skin. So I'm just going to kind of wait until those drop too. Right. But yeah, you've been playing that. As for more new video games, the new Pokemon TCG drop hit this week. This update. It is what is the name of this pack? It's a new pack.
Mythical Island, I think.
Mythical Island. That's what it's called. It's got what 8 new cards.
68 new cards.
68.
Yeah.
68. Yeah.
So.
And there's some new EXs in there. A lot of good, interesting cards they put in. It's mostly what gens are they kind of covering mostly?
It's still mostly Gen 1 stuff for this whole like set. This whole set, even like the boosters, it all seems to be built around Gen 1 with some other Pokemon sprinkled in. But
like there's some starters from other generations being sprinkled, other gens,
Yeah, the only other gen starter that I'm aware of that's in the game right now is, well, besides Greninja, is Superior. They just added him in, and he's a really good card. He came with the Mythical Island booster. So.
Yeah. Oh, pardon me. Yeah, it's some really interesting cards. I haven't gotten like anything I wanted really. My luck has been terrible. You entered the chat recently with Superiority, I'll say, and we were kind of sharing screenshots of this and that. Oh, I got this Pokemon. I got this. Nathan, who's in our chat, just straight up pulled a gold Mew, and I'm like, wow. I want your luck, man.
Yeah,
it's crazy. He said it was his first pack of this too. I was like, are you insane? Yeah, the luck that it would take to do that, I can't.
Gold,
I can't.
Yeah.
What's the best card you've gotten, I guess?
From this pack or from earlier packs? Because I haven't gotten anything.
This pack, yeah.
Yeah, this pack. The best thing I've gotten was like that. I have two starter cards, and they're both Trainer Blue. So.
Oh really? Oh
yeah, they're the full art Trainer Blue.
I got a Trainer Blue too. I didn't get the full art, but I got one of the Trainer Blue.
Those are the rarest ones I have right now in this pack. Is those Trainer Blues.
I gotcha. Did you get a Celebi yet, or no?
No, I haven't gotten a Celebi yet. The
Oh,
only EX I've
that's the
gotten
one I
from this
really want.
pack is Mew. I only have one of those.
Okay. Is there a full art Celebi, or is it just an EX?
Oh yeah, no.
Ooh.
There's the so all of the EXs, right. There's like the regular art. There's
Hmm.
a full art. There's an immersive art, and then there's the
Oh.
gold art.
Oh, there's always that for every EX.
No, just
Oh,
for
okay.
the box like EXs. So the box EXs
Oh.
of this one are Mew and Celebi. So those
Oh,
both have
okay.
immersive arts. But
Okay. Yeah, in immersive arts for people that aren't aware, they're like these special cards that have like a cutscene
mhm,
involved when you crack one open, and it's really cool. I got in the first pack, well, in the first like drop when the game launched, I got a Mewtwo one that was really cool.
yep,
But that's the only. Well, I also got that Charizard full art as well. That was also a cool cutscene too.
yeah.
Um, and I think are those the only two, or is
There's
there the
the Pikachu as well. Yep,
Pikachu?
I have the
Okay,
Pikachu immersive
not get
art,
the
and I have the
Pikachu. That's
Charizard
yeah,
immersive art. Yep.
yeah. So I got the Mewtwo, I got the Charizard. I want that Pikachu at some point. But with this new pack, until I get all the cards, there's no reason to go back to the old one yet.
Yeah, that's how I
That's
feel.
I'm not doing that anyway. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally. I think I'm just out of practice battling. I think I'm going to do a bunch of solo stuff and just get a trillion clocks or whatever you call them.
yeah.
Time. What do you
That's the
call those
way to
things?
do it.
Um,
Yeah. The
yeah,
events
I
going
think I
on right
probably
now
will.
as well for battling, you can get like 2 free pulls just by participating in matches in that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. What do you think
definitely
of the
do that
chat
new
so
event.
far? How's
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
how's
been fun.
everybody treating you? Good?
Yeah,
Good. Very good. Spencer's always down to battle. Other people are too, but yeah, it's just I figured we talk TCG all the time and we show you stuff. I was like, let's add them. Why not? And everyone's getting along pretty great. So as for going forward for TCG, we'll kind of just probably talk about it as things drop.
yeah,
There's
yep,
not like a lot of new things to talk about. We've pretty
yeah,
much covered it, honestly. This is probably a third go around talking about it. So
yeah. It's a fun game.
as new thing, it's a fun game. It's great, but I don't see it like varying up in the future. So
No,
everything's going to be kind of an also ran. So if we feel like we need to talk about it, it'll probably be for another pack drop or
yeah,
something like that. So that's what I assume. I haven't really talked to you about that, but that's kind of what I've been thinking too.
no,
So
I agree with that.
if you want to look for more TCG stuff, you can listen to our other pods, and we've talked at length about both. So, um, yeah, that's kind of the two
Oh,
newer
real
stuff you're
quick,
playing. So,
on the
oh yeah,
Marvel
go ahead.
Rivals stuff, they just dropped a game mode. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but they have a game
Oh,
mode
okay.
now where it's basically Splatoon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for the winter
Oh,
event.
just
So
okay.
it's everyone plays as Jeff the Landshark, and you try and cover
Nice.
the map with your like ice, your color of ice or something like that. And so
Oh wow, that's kind of brilliant. That's so
yeah,
so cool that they implemented that. That's like a retrofit. Yeah,
yeah.
that's super cool. So it's like Splatoon. Interesting. Are there different land shark colors or what?
No, I think you're all the same, like Jeff the Landshark. I mean, you can probably like equip skins and stuff for him, but
Oh, okay.
other than that, you're just going around and doing the Splatoon thing of trying to cover the most part of the map, with
Hmm.
your respective ice, and whoever has the most um, wins that battle. So
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Interesting. I would never have expected that to be in that game, but that's a cool mode. Well,
yeah,
Fortnite's doing some interesting stuff where they basically did the CS:GO stuff, so they're kind of being
yep,
retrofitted for their own game too.
yep.
Um,
They've got
it's so cool when games do modes like that. Yeah,
yeah,
like Call
next
of Duty has
year.
prop hunt and stuff. Like it's nuts.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Next year,
Hmm.
Fortnite's got Hatsune Miku is gonna be the festival
Oh.
pass, I think.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, she's
Oh,
gonna have
that's
some
cool.
songs in there, and so
Play Miku by Anamanaguchi because that's the only one I
yeah,
know.
that's gonna be in there. That's guaranteed to be in there. So
Nice, nice. We should play some Fortnite when that comes around.
yeah,
I'll
do the
probably I
festival. Yeah,
might get back on the saddle for that. Do you know when that's coming?
it
Is
should
that
be
like spring
around
or?
middle of January. So
Ooh, okay. Yep, I'll be
yeah,
back on that with you. That'd be awesome. Um, yeah, I love games that like games that are popular that constantly change like that. Super cool,
yeah,
super cool. But that's also like a detriment to the game industry as a whole because they are basically swallowing up all the user base because no one leaves those games.
yeah,
People
yeah,
are playing Siege and this and that, and
yeah.
yeah. all the interesting games are coming out with nobody that wants to play them or are interested in them, or you got a Concord where they come out and no one even cares. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, Concord was a little bit tone deaf. You know,
well, check that
$60.
box. We talked about Concord, am I right? Jeez
Hey,
Louise.
you brought it up, not me. So
I did. Is that Concord episode out of Secret Level? I'm ready to stop talking about this. So,
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's out. I want to just
wait,
binge
is it really?
watch.
Dang.
Yeah, I want to binge watch all of them at once, so I waited until they were all
Yeah.
out. But they should all be out now. I think the last drop, like the second drop of them, was on the 17th. So yeah,
Oh,
they're all
so they
definitely out. Yep.
they dropped
Every
the
single
last
one of them.
half. Okay, I didn't know that. I
Yep.
thought they were going to go like week by week or something. Okay,
Nope, they
that's
just
cool.
dropped
I
them
want
in
to see that Mega
chunks.
Man.
So yep.
Gotcha. I want to watch that Mega Man one too. That'll
Yep,
be
Mega
cool.
Man starts out in the Concord Tale of the Implacable.
Oh boy, that sounds
Implacable?
like.
Is that implacable or implaceable?
Spell it.
Implacable? Implacable?
It must be implacable or implacable. I think it's probably implacable.
Huh.
I don't know what that even means.
I don't know that word. Yeah. Huh.
You ever say a word that like, okay, this word has no meaning to me because I don't know. But have you ever said a word so many times that it like loses its meaning? That's kind of how I'm feeling right now. Yeah, because I thought of superior and then superiority, and then I kept saying it over and over, and I was like, this makes no sense anymore. It's becoming a jumble mush in my head.
Okay.
Also, a fun fact about Secret Level: Blur did Secret Level, the Blur Studio. They also did the Halo 2 anniversary cinematics, but they also, along with another studio, did this Sonic animation for the movies, which is interesting. So I found that out because I was rewatching Sonic 1 in parts today because I kind of want to catch up for 3. I haven't seen 2 yet, so
2 is good. 2 is really good.
I need to watch that this week.
I want to watch that. I want to watch that Knuckles series at some point.
Yeah, we should. We should both watch that and then maybe talk about it. Wait, did you find out the term?
So it is implacable, and
implacable,
and it means that they're like unable to be placated, so they're relentless or unstoppable, unappeasable.
Oh,
yeah.
They could have picked a different word, huh?
Yeah. Leave it to the Concord episode to make us break out the freaking dictionary just to...
Concord? They never make a bad decision. Are you kidding me? They got Star Child.
Yeah, who could forget about Star Child and Lennox?
I always want... Okay, listen. I don't want to talk about Concord. I always want to talk about Star Child. always. I'm so down to talk about Star Child.
Star Child is awesome. We here at
Star
the
Child is the most
show love Star Child.
Star Child is the most freaking best value Guardians of the Galaxy character you could ever make. Like this is the off-brand Aldi brand of Guardians of the Galaxy rejects. Yeah, he's Drax's third cousin. Nobody cares about him. He went and tried to make these movies, but they were just big in Russia or whatever, you know. It's like one of those things.
Oh yeah, I remember that movie. What was that Russian?
That Russian
movie?
MCU.
It was pretty good. I actually kind of liked it, but
was it okay?
What
was that called? I always watched that trailer. I was like, that was a cool trailer, you know.
It was actually a decent movie. Yeah.
Okay, what the heck is that movie called? It's something right.
It was like
isn't it?
Oh, was it? I thought it was like the Indestructibles
Isn't it?
or something like that. Maybe you're probably right. It is something rising.
Probably. That, I mean, if you want a general term for a thing, you just say rising or heroes or legends.
Guardians. That's what it was. Guardians.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I don't know why I thought rising then.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was just trying to be easy, maybe. But Guardians, yes, Guardians.
No, I thought it was a pretty decent try. I mean, you know, it wasn't as good as the MCU, obviously, but it was pretty good.
Speaking of which, that Superman trailer came out. Primo stuff. That's the
it's gonna have like crypto
crave.
in it or something, right?
Yes, well, good crypto, dog crypto.
Yeah,
not
dog.
Crypto bros.
Well, not the dog crypto of like the coin, but the.
Well, yeah, okay. Now
dog
we're really
crypto
into
of
it.
Superman's pet
not
dog.
Dogecoin, not crypto, not crypto
Shiba
bros.
Inu. Yeah.
Crypto the freaking dog with the kid. All right, he's a dumb-looking dog, and that's all right with me. I like crypto. He seems like that word is so tainted now.
You're gonna get quoted out of context with that, and somebody's gonna use
I
that
love
against
crypto.
you.
I love crypto.
I love crypto.
Have you seen my Ethereum? Is Superman allergic to Ethereum? It's like kryptonite to him. It sounds like something he'd be sick.
That's great.
It's like red kryptonite. We call it Ethereum. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think genuinely though they are going to make Lex Luthor a crypto bro. That's the idea I've heard,
that's great.
which is interesting. That this is totally an aside, but this came out. It's great, and I'm excited about it. But man, that
No, that
name
sounds good.
crypto is so tainted now, isn't it? As soon as I heard him, he's doing the whole Yamcha from Dragon Ball pose in the snow. He's just kind of like, bleh. And he's like, "Crypto, take me home," and I'm like, "Crypto, no!" All the Elon bros are like, "Hell yeah, man, we love Superman. He believes in our percentages." I have 5 thousandths of a Bitcoin. I'm ready to sell.
Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah,
Anyways,
so
I don't even know where I was at.
Superman
Anyway,
show. Yep, that
Superman.
movie. Yeah,
You know
it's
what's a
gonna be
super game? Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
Yeah.
We'll segue there.
good. Yeah,
That
good
is a
segue.
super good game. A very good game. Thank you. I appreciate it. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. What do you want to know about it? We'll start there. What do you want to know about it?
Yeah.
Besides it being good.
Yeah.
'Cause it's a good game.
I mean, we've talked about it a little bit
little
on
bit.
the show already.
I had just
so
started it last pod.
Yeah,
I
we've
just
talked
started.
about kind of what type of game it is, what sort of mechanics are in there. So, I mean, I don't think there's anything that we haven't talked about in terms of like the core gameplay loop and like where what
Right.
this game is. So we don't have to talk at length about those sorts of things. But if there's anything you're wanting to talk about, you certainly can. But I don't really
Okay.
have
I didn't know if you had any
about it.
questions.
I
I didn't know if you had any
I'm
questions
going
for
to be checking it out at some point when I get the chance. But
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, it is the best Indiana Jones game that's ever been made, which is not hard because there's not that many of them. There was like a couple LucasArts games, like Fate of Atlantis and is it the Infernal Machine, or is there another one? There's a couple text adventure ones. There's a couple like third-person action games. I think actually the Infernal Machine was third person, and then the Emperor's Tomb was like Xbox PS2 era. So there's been some games. There was the Staff of Kings, I think was a Wii game. So they've done Indiana Jones here and there, but none of those efforts have been as well realized as this one has. This straight up it's canon. Like they've just said like this is canon. It's on the level of like the Golden Fleece comic books. Like it's canon. We're gonna make it so it basically exists alongside Raiders, Temple of Doom, all that. I think it has a really interesting premise and the story is interesting throughout. I don't want to dampen any of your interest. I think the ending, I was expecting one thing, and I think this is my fault. I was expecting one thing from all the buildup they're doing about this MacGuffin, about this thing, this secret society, maybe. That's not a secret. It's about a secret society in some ways. Um, there's there's a group of these people and they have an interesting name. There's a biblical name, and you're like, oh, am I going to see one of these things? And no, you don't. And maybe I'm just setting myself up for failure there. So if you play it, you'll kind of know what I mean. We can talk about it then. But the ending is really cool. They do like a rug pull for the story, like in the last 2 hours. They're like, this is what this is actually about. You're like, what? Like
Yeah.
it's crazy. The where they end up, you're like, I never saw this coming, and I'm being genuine. They don't even really hint at it until the final act of the game, so it keeps you consistently engaged throughout because the whole idea is Indiana Jones is globe trotting. Literally, there is a great circle where all these historical sites are linking to this one thing, and you're trying to figure out how they relate to one another. And there's these 17 artifacts. I forget what they call them, but they're hidden in other artifacts from different cultures. So, for instance, you went to the Vatican and you go underground and you get this kind of medieval artifact. You break it open and there's the actual artifact inside of it. You go to Egypt, same thing. It's like a cat mummy. The game starts with this guy stealing a cat mummy from your museum, and you find out there was something in it and you didn't know, right? And that's not spoiling anything really. It's just not. It's just kind of the setting, table setting. But as they collect these relics throughout the world, you're like, what is this even going to? Everything has a different property. There's like a weird like Skyrim language that's involved with it. Um, like they do enough interesting things with the story to keep you completely hooked throughout. And I think the thing that makes it most work, the thing that like works the best is Troy Baker's performance. Like him being Indiana Jones he's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's one of the best vocal performances I've ever seen or heard in a game. It's an incredible job. It's super like it sounds, just like I said in the last pod, and I just think it's incredibly Indiana Jones. It feels like part of the same series, and that's really hard to do because Indiana Jones has a very in specific humor to itself. It's like slapstick in a way, but also serious and grand and epic, while also being small scale in moments. Like it's a lot of things, but they hit the tones right when they need to, and the comedy is just excellent. There's a really funny scene where you're a priest, and I don't want to spoil it because I'm not going. I don't want to. The joke is hilarious, but you're getting led to confession by this soldier, and he confesses to this wild thing, and the way Indiana Jones reacts to it is just. He goes like, pardon the language. He goes, "Christ, what have you done?" And this guy sees through his facade. He's like, "You're a priest." He punches him through the confessional. It's so funny, so funny.
That's
Um,
classic
th-
Indiana Jones humor there
it's
too.
classic.
Yeah,
Yeah, they really nail that sort of
yeah,
thing.
that's
And I
good.
think the gameplay is just it's so fun. And when I say it was like the Forgotten City, it really feels that way.
Yeah,
It's more exploratory. There is combat in parts, and when you do it, it's very funny. Like
yeah.
a lot of
I'm gonna like this
I don't
game.
know how to explain it. Yeah, oh no, you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
It's so good. Just invoking the Forgotten City, you're like, I'm
Yep.
sold. I'm
Oh,
there.
you got me
You're
sold.
reading a lot of notes. Yeah, you're reading a lot of notes. You're picking up a million things. There is gun combat. You're barely doing any. It's kind of
Oh,
like a fail safe. Like I don't have a weapon around me. Pull out a gun,
oh,
and you can
boom.
even use that. Yeah, you can even use that as a melee.
Oh,
Yeah, just over the head, right? Um, yeah, it feels like it's kind of a huge undertaking to do, and I feel like they really pulled it off by the end. It is one of the best games I've played in a long time, besides Metaphor. Like this year has been really good for video games, but those two specifically, Metaphor and Indiana Jones, I was just floored by. I was like, this is such a good game. If Metaphor had not released this year, straight up, and I wanted to get to it a little bit, it won IGN and GameSpot's Game of the Year. Like this week, IGN, they just said it was their game of the year. And it's so rare for them to do that, let alone for a JRPG. If those games or if those outlets did not have that game to vote on, I think they probably would have voted Indiana Jones because
yeah,
people are going gaga for it. Like
yeah,
it's insane. Um, but yeah, it is just it's. I don't want to call it a masterpiece because it's not a masterpiece. It's not a perfect game, nothing like that. But it is so well made. The quality is so high. What they're doing is so well done. It's like a must play game. Like I
yeah,
genuinely think that. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people think that Indiana Jones is more popular than it is, you know? Like I always went like, "Oh, this is like second to Star Wars." But that's not really the case. It's just not. Um More people like Star Wars than Indiana Jones, vice versa. Um it's just one of those things that like I feel like this could really catapult this character back into the mainstream in a huge way, which is kind of weird because the movie just came out and no one cared,
yeah.
you know.
I mean,
But the game
yeah,
being so popular, it's just I think it really does it a solid in that department, you know.
yeah. I do want to check out that movie at some point as well, just to
I
give
do
it
too.
justice.
Yeah, I
But
do too.
I
Yeah,
just
one of these
wasn't
days.
really interested in a new Indiana Jones movie after Crystal Skull, right? But I heard that
Mm.
this one was maybe a little bit better than that, so we'll see.
Yeah, I hear
Yeah,
it's at least serviceable.
yeah.
It's the only one not directed by Spielberg. It's the guy who did Logan,
Hmm.
and Walk the Line. What? James something or other. I cannot
I mean,
place his
Logan
name.
was
Anyway,
pretty good. That's a good movie.
Logan's one of the best. It's up there with like the best superhero movies for sure.
Yeah, Logan is.
It's
What a
like in the
great
Dark Knight
movie.
territory. It's like right there, you
Yeah,
know.
it's just
Um,
such a mature movie. Like it really shows a mature side of what you can do with the superhero IPs. It's a
mhm.
really
Yeah,
interesting
it
movie.
feels every step of that movie feels considered, right?
Yeah.
It makes it all the more outrageous when Deadpool 3 just kind of like throws a middle finger up at it, and it could have gone really wrong, but they are so outrageous. I'm
Yeah,
like, okay, this
I
kind of
still need
works.
to watch that Deadpool 3 as well.
Oh, you haven't seen it? Oh my
No,
gosh,
yeah, I gotta
that movie
watch
is
that.
so good.
Yeah, I've
Like
heard really good things about it.
it's
I think
there
I'm gonna
hasn't
really
been a lot
like
of
it.
good.
Yeah,
It's on Disney Plus right now. You can
yeah,
go watch
okay,
it.
I need to
Um,
watch it.
you, I there's not been a lot of good MCU lately. I liked Loki season 2. There's a couple good
I need to
movies here
watch
and
that
there.
as well. Yeah, Loki season
Loki
2.
season 2 is great.
Yeah,
Not as good as the first season, but
I
it's good.
love that first season. I own it on Blu-ray, but
Yes, it's so good. The ending of Loki 2 is really powerful.
yeah.
But nothing has hit the heights of Deadpool 3 in a while.
Hmm.
It's probably since the last Spider-Man movie that I really felt something for Marvel property. I'm
Yeah,
like, because I haven't watched I tried watching Hawkeye. I hear it was good. I got 3 episodes in. I'm like, this is
I
okay.
liked the Hawkeye show. All right, yeah, I thought it
I
was
hear
all
it's
right.
pretty good. It's also Christmas themed, so it'd kind of be perfect for this time of year. But like, I don't know. It just feels like it was a factory for a while, and I hope they go back to just
Yeah,
making things that are quality,
yeah.
And I think they are cutting back on a
I really
pipeline.
like that Marvel IP personally. I'm more of a Marvel IP fan than a DC IP fan
Yeah,
personally.
that's
So
I kind of had to change into an MCU person because DC was kind of fumbling the bag and
mhm.
everything movies for a while. But yeah, there's been more good MCU than bad MCU, right?
Yeah.
But when MCU is bad, it's really bad. It's really bad. Um,
What do you mean?
it's like,
Morbius was a masterpiece. We all know.
well, come on, it's not MCU. You know this. You know this. You're trying to bait me. I see you. You're trying to bait me. Anyway, kind of tying back to Indiana Jones and IP, Disney IP technically. Um, I think it just, I think it's super solid. It's more than solid. It's a fantastic game. Um,
Yeah.
and it didn't take me long. It took me 19 hours maybe, and I felt like I was idling some playing it too. Like I really took my time. I'm not like on a deadline crunch necessarily. I kind of been wanting to finish a million things, but I really took my time playing that, and I think it's really rewarded. There was I kind of like left my brain at the door one of these missions, and I took this mission, and I thought it was the main mission. It ended up being a side mission, but it felt like a main part of the story. I was blown away. There's a whole like dungeon to this side mission, like a long dungeon. It was like an hour. I was like, oh my god. And then I get out and they're like, oh, go to the main objective. I was like, what are you talking about? Wasn't that the main objective? And they're like, no, this is part of the game. I was like, are you kidding me? Um, there's like 3 or 4 open zones they can kind of explore and do a bunch of like hefty side missions in, and then
Sure.
you can collect these artifacts that kind of play into the final area of the game, opening this large area. If you collect all this thing, you kind of can get into this special place. It's really cool. um, but yeah, it never feels like a waste of your time. It's very considered,
Yeah,
every second of it.
that's
So
fun.
highly recommend Indiana Jones of the Great Circle. It's super good, fantastic game. Second to Metaphor for me. It even beat out Balatro. It's that good. It is that good. Um, and I love Balatro. You know what I mean? I love me some Balatro. Um, but yeah, I finished a couple things. So I finished that, and then I was picking away at Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and it really grew on me as I played it.
Yeah.
I was picking at it bits and pieces throughout kind of the end of the year, and I was like, I don't want to lose steam on this. It's fun. I was just playing it in like 15-minute increments here and there, just breaks at work, here at the house, and I was just like, you know what? Like I'm really getting back into a groove with this, and I just it be, I kind of have like a portable game I play, and then kind of the main TV game, and it became my main TV game again. And I was just like, okay, I'm actually gonna just play this, just full attention, and I loved it. The back half of that game is just really good. Like it's more than just serviceable Zelda. There is a formula to this game that you can kind of get bored of easy. In the middle of the game, it's pretty slow in some parts, but when you reach the final 3 dungeons, I'll say, I don't want to tell you how many there are. It's not a very long game, nothing like that. But once you've hit those final 3, they really go like, "Hey, you have all these tools. You just go for it. You solve these issues
Yeah.
however you want." My main issue with the game, I would say, is there are too many echoes that you just don't need. Like
Yeah.
they're like one-off echoes. Like there's this bed, you can pick up an echo, and it's basically just a collectible at that point. But The issue I have with it being too many is you are rifling through a menu, side to side, left and right, trying to
Okay.
pick the one thing that you want,
Yeah.
and it gets really tedious.
So you
I
think
think it could
maybe
have been
having
done
like
way
a
better.
favorites menu or something like that?
They do have that. They have like
Okay.
most used, last learned, that sort
Okay.
of thing. But I wish it was hotkeyed. Like you go
Sure.
like I press this button, it's there. You know?
Sure.
Yeah. It was a lot of scrolling back and
So
left
you're
and right. And I was
thinking a
just like,
Switch 2 might be good having a couple more buttons maybe on it
mm,
for like hotkey
it's
buttons,
not
like
the
a L3
yeah.
or
Well,
L4 and an R4 on the back or something like that.
it's
Um,
not that. I feel like it's a mapping thing. Like
hmm,
they could make this more concise. It's not just adding another button. I think they could just go like, hey, we need a hotkey on your menu. Like
hmm.
you can set one of your select buttons for like click this, you have this at your disposal. Or there's
Like
a drop
Pokemon.
down menu where you yeah, sure. Or there's a drop down menu where you're like just select from these 5 that you picked, you curated for yourself. Like these are the things I need in this dungeon, that's it. Like
Yeah.
by the end of the game I was using like a fair amount of echoes, but it wasn't all 30, 40, 50, 60 of them. It's a lot. It's actually kind of a lot. And by the end of the game, like there's a way for you to go like, oh, you have echoes here, you have echoes here, you have echoes here, and you don't really know which ones you have until you dispose of an enemy or kind of interact with an item, sort of thing. There'll be these like triangles that kind of waft up from an item that can be absorbed, right?
Yeah.
You won't know until you actually interact with a given thing. Um, but that's really my main issue is that there's just too many of things that you don't need and don't care about. But it's kind of you got to do something when you're go walking through a dungeon,
Sure.
right? And there's like old echoes and new echoes. Like, hey, this echo's level 2. This is a level 2 moblin. He's got a bigger shield and a bigger sword. This is a level 3 moblin. You know, um, and so it's good, but then you have no use for the other two. So what do you do? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you just don't. There are energy costs for each. There's like this little character called Try that follows you throughout the game, and every charge, it's like a tip on the back of it. It's like a tail. Every charge you use expends a use of that. And once you reach kind of the main body of this character, you're kind of full up on echoes, and you can always recall them at any time, right? But you think of it like batteries; it's like that.
Yeah.
Um, and so for some of those larger echoes, as you progress through the game, like your things cost less, but as you get more powerful echoes, they cost more in your battery, right?
Yeah.
Um, so for like a big enemy, you're like, I'm going to drop this guy, but he's going to use everything. He's going to use everything I got, right? Um, I ended up using like one echo that was just killing things, and I was able to make 3 of them at the end. It's like this spitting blade of death called a P hat,
Sure.
and they were just
Oh yeah, Piats.
it
Yep.
was easy. Yeah, they were just buzzsaws, right?
That's funny.
And I basically they carried me throughout the game. So there's only a few things you need, but really, the final 3 dungeons are just they're some of my favorite dungeons in a Zelda game. Especially the last one I did, the Lanayru Temple thing I told you about. It just man, it was so
Yeah.
fun. I
I
have
gotta
not
give
had
this
that
game
much
a
fun.
chance. I gotta get
Yeah, I
around to
think you
it.
do. I think you do. Like I really came around on it. I was listening to some of the old pods, and I was just like, I was just wrong about this game. Like, I think you should check it out
Yeah.
and make it not a priority, but make it kind of front of mind
Yeah.
and go like, yeah, I really should because, I don't know if you'll like it as much as me, but I think that final boss is just excellent. It's
Sure.
so fun. It's so fun. And it's kind of difficult. Like if you're not prepared for it, if you don't have the things you need going in, it's going to completely rinse you.
Yeah.
And there's like a million stages of it, and there's a lot of enemies being thrown at you and being generated, and it's a very narrow area. It's really cool. And that you go from area to area, and there's a water part of it too. And it's just the final boss, that final run of the 3 dungeons to the end of this game really catapulted my love for it, I'll say. Um, and by the end of it, I was just like, this is just a top 10 Zelda game. Like it straight up is. I think the dungeons are just brilliant.
Well, I
But
mean,
yeah,
you can call it a top 10 Zelda game, but really, there's only been 2 Zelda games. So, how do we think this stacks up to the last Zelda game, Wand of Gamelon?
you mean literally Zelda? Okay, well,
No,
if it's
Wand
okay,
of
it's better
Wand
than
of
what
Gamelon. Yeah, that was the CDI one.
it's yes, it is better than one again.
It
Yes.
is okay.
Um,
That's I think everyone was
okay, so
had bated
in the
breath.
pinnacle, well, and the pinnacle of Zelda games. This is the top Zelda game. This is the best Zelda game. In the Legend of Zelda series, this is a top 10 Legend of Zelda game.
Okay,
So,
okay.
it is called Legend
Glad
of
we
Zelda
figured
because it
that
was,
out. Yeah.
yes, the Wand of Gamelon notwithstanding, this is one of the best Zelda games, I would say. It doesn't beat like a Wind Waker or Ocarina, or, that's like revered top pinnacle era. Like
Oh
you
yeah,
can't.
you can't beat those 3D
It's just
Zeldas.
the game is just
like,
not that. The game is
yeah,
just not as good. It's just not. It's just
no,
it's a different thing. It feels like one of these side project Zelda games. Um,
yeah,
it feels like kind of a Minish Cap or something.
yeah,
It really
and
does
that's
feel
fine.
that way.
That design
Yeah.
space is allowed to
What's
exist,
wrong?
right? Not every game has
Yeah.
to
What's
be
wrong
this
with that?
crazy,
Mhm.
triple A experience. Which I still haven't
Yeah.
even finished the like final boss of Tears of the Kingdom yet. So I got like
Oh,
all the
really?
way up
That
to
is
that.
that
And
is a tough boss.
yeah,
I will tell you.
I never actually like attempted it at all. I just got
Really? Okay. Wow.
I got done with
It's
the game. I explored like the entire of like that underground area, and then I was like, yeah,
yeah.
I did what I wanted to do because that's kind of like the most fun I had with the game was that underground area, and I just kind of dropped the game before finishing the story. So
Yeah. That fight, I will say, is one of the tougher fights in the series. I think the demise fight in Skyward Sword's really tough too.
yeah, I
But
love that
this
demise fight. That's a really
that's a
good
great
fight.
fight. It's awesome. It's very akin to that. It feels
Mm.
super demise, like that. But Ganondorf is really powerful. Like he is straight up taking hearts from you where you cannot regen.
Yeah.
You have to have this special flour you're eating, incorporated in meals, basically. And if you don't have, it's like the sunflower from the Sky Islands. If you don't have enough of
Mm-hmm.
them, you're cooked. You're
Yeah.
just cooked. So you kind of have to keep farming if you don't have a save present. And
Yeah.
also, I was using like the special, what is it? It was this costume that made you, you wouldn't drop hearts, you drop money instead of rupees. I forget what it was.
Yeah, the
It was a
magic
set you got
armor.
from killing all those
Yeah.
frogs. Yes, yes. It's a cool set of armor, but it doesn't work against Ganondorf because he
Mm.
still takes your heart. It
Yeah.
ignores it. It completely ignores it, and it takes your money too. So it doesn't mean anything. So it's
Yeah.
just like you might as well just bulk up, right?
Yeah.
But it's a really. I think my issue with that fight specifically, not to digress too much from what we were talking about, my issue with that fight specifically is that the Switch can't handle what's happening, so it's not very precise. I feel like a Switch 2 would be better. And it was just chugging like during our fight. Like I'm trying to do this really precise move sideways,
Yeah.
and it just hits just slightly, and I get hit. Like there's nothing to do about that, right?
I know they really want to beat those PS2 sales, but come on, Nintendo.
They do.
Just give us
They gotta
that
put this
Switch
thing
2.
out.
Yeah.
I think that they'll say something by March. They have to.
Yeah.
They said they would next quarter. Or by the end of this quarter, I should say. They will announce something, probably February, I imagine. But it will make, I think, these games run better. If
Yeah.
not with a next gen patch, they will just automatically just run better.
Yeah.
Which, great. I don't know if they'll make you buy them again. I don't know. But Tears of the Kingdom is one of the best games ever made. I think personally, you might not like it as much. I like it better than Breath of the Wild for me. There's a lot more to do, a lot more versatility in Tears of the Kingdom for me.
Yeah.
And if it runs better, that's even better, right?
Yeah. It's hard for me to say if I like it better than Breath of the Wild or not, because I've sunk a lot of hours into Breath of the Wild and in Tears of the Kingdom, honestly. I mean, like I said, I finished up that entire underground, so like that takes a lot of time.
That's a lot.
I've put a lot of
That takes a lot of time. And I will say, I like Mario Odyssey better than both. So that's just
yeah, no.
in
Honestly, I'm with you. Yeah, Mario Odyssey is just
you are
a
not
better
like
game.
this. You should not be like this. You have been converted because
yeah, I gave it a second chance. I gave it a second chance, and I really ended up liking Odyssey. Yeah.
The end of that game is not beating Bowser. It's just not. Like you have to play that game and get everything.
Honestly,
it's so fun.
It's hard for me to say, but like I could call that like my favorite 3D Mario.
It is definitely mine. Yeah, it is so underrated, dude. Like
it's
people,
just a really good game.
People do not give that game credit. It's crazy. Like I know people understand that like it's an amazing game, but people don't think it's on the level like that.
Yeah,
like,
you can't just beat
I'm talking,
Bowser and say, "Oh, I'm done with the game." Like, no, that's not the game.
No.
The game happens after you beat Bowser when you're going around collecting all those moons. Like, it just feels so fluid. Like the way it leads you into every moon, and like You know, you just
Yeah,
feel like
totally.
you're playing a game. You know, like you're doing the collectathon thing, like the Banjo
Right.
Kazooie collectathon thing, Mario 64 collectathon thing, but like it's all just seamless. You know.
It's seamless. It's
Yeah,
elegant as
Banjo
all get
Kazooie, I
out.
will say, was doing that. You know,
Yeah.
before Nintendo was, Rare was
Mm-hmm.
doing
Mm-hmm.
that seamless, sort of collectathon, and
Right.
I've always said I like Banjo Kazooie better than Mario
Yeah, me too.
64. Sue me,
Sure.
but
Sure. Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
both great
I think
games.
Mario
But
64. Right. Right. I think Mario 64. It kind of suffers from its design these days, where not everything
mhm,
is seamless. It's all
yeah,
stages. Like you kind of are attacking the same levels, but with different concepts
yeah,
in each, and you're getting kicked out to the painting every time.
getting kicked out
But
just
Banjo
doesn't feel
Kazooie,
good.
it just doesn't feel good, and you kind of like you're like, oh, I did that, go back out, and then back in.
Yeah,
Like it's just kind of like it's the whole Grandpa Simpson out the door, back in sort of thing, leaving your
yeah,
hat, and then going like, I'll be back for this. That's how it is. And then Banjo Kazooie's like, oh, why don't we just leave you there? And we're like, sure, I'll stay
yeah.
here. I'll get all
Yeah,
these
I want to
jiggies
keep
and
playing the game. Like, let me decide when
yeah,
I stop playing the game. Yeah.
right. And I think Mario Odyssey is the best of that, because even Galaxy does that too, where they're
hmm
just like, you're gonna go to this galaxy and you're gonna do this
Galaxy,
galaxy
okay,
four
Galaxy's
times.
hard to put in the same place as those sandbox 3D Marios, like Sunshine, like
Yeah,
64,
sure,
like
it is. It's
Odyssey.
still level based. Yeah,
It,
yeah.
yeah, Galaxy is absolutely level based. Like, that goes more in the category of, like, a Super Mario 3D Land, Super Mario 3D World,
Yes.
Even
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo puts
Mm-hmm.
those in a separate,
Right.
category.
Yeah,
Those
they're not
Galaxy
sandbox
games
Mario.
are a level based game, and for the level based games, yeah, those Galaxy games are like they're the best there is for 3D level
Yes.
based Mario. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Galaxy, they're cinematic, they're bombastic, wonderful games, but
Yeah.
in terms of 3D Marios in general, I still don't think they're quite up to the standards of Odyssey.
I just think, I just think Odyssey is just. It is the. I think it's like the best game Nintendo's ever made. Maybe like it's up there. It's like that
That's
and Ocarina and
yeah, I
Tears of the
mean,
Kingdom. Like this Switch console has been so prolific.
yeah,
It's hard to. It's easier to compare because most of those games on the same system, you can kind of play them side by
mhm,
side. Like I can really say that Mario Odyssey is if not number one, it's a top three or Nintendo game. It's
yeah,
up there, man. It is up there. And you really had to change your heart, like I did, where you just like, yeah, what is with this game? Like because I was telling you, I'm like, dude, you just need to go back to it and
yeah.
really dig down and do these moons. You're like, I'll get back to it, and then you're like, oh yeah, you
Yeah,
are, yeah, yeah,
I just
totally,
replayed
and
it again from the beginning, like after my first
yeah,
experience with it, and like I just
totally,
continued on and did everything, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see
yeah.
where this game is.
It's the whole,
It still doesn't beat like some of those like classic N64 Nintendo games for me, like Majora's Mask.
yeah, sure.
But
That's just a preference thing for sure.
yeah,
I mean, I'm not the biggest Majora's Mask fan, but that's something I need to come back to too. So I'm
I
sure I
absolutely
will.
adore that game.
That's your favorite
Uh,
game ever, isn't it?
Yeah,
Is it Majora's Mask
basically,
usually?
yeah. Like,
Yeah,
I always go back to Majora's Mask. Like at the end of the day, like there's definitely a lot of favorite
yeah.
games for me. A lot of
Hmm.
experiences that I can come up with and be like, yeah, this has been my favorite at a point. Like Majora's Mask just
Yeah,
kind of sticks with me. Like that world, that lore, those
yeah. It's eerie.
characters. Like,
Yeah, it's just an eerie world to inhabit,
yeah,
and I think the
it's
characters are
not
just
even
so
just
off.
eerie though. Like if you get past like the eeriness of it, like it's a really like livable, breathing world where like without
Hmm.
like the doomsday stuff, like it's just a really good like world building. It's the
Yeah,
best most well lived Zelda experience, I think. Like it's the
yeah,
liveliest town experience that I think Nintendo's ever put
sure.
out in a Zelda game. And they've
Yeah,
done a lot of
sure.
town experiences for those, but Majora's Mask's
Yeah,
town feels the most alive and breathing because they've got that
I.
3 day clock and they've got everything on a schedule, and
Hmm.
so like the characters can just go out and do their tasks, and like
Hmm.
that can just be a thing because of the design constraints of that game. So
Right. I gotta say, I didn't notice your shirt. I love your shirt, by the way. That's
Oh
a nice
yeah,
shirt.
it's Estes
That's
Flask
so
Brew
cool.
or
Can you
Estes
show me?
Flask
Can
Ale.
you link me to where you bought that? I will buy
I
that.
bought this
That's
at
an amazing shirt.
bought this at an anime convention actually, but
Oh my god, I need that so bad. That's so cool. I kind of wanted to branch off from that. So Zelda Echoes was amazing,
yeah.
and we could talk about literally Nintendo all day.
Oh
But
yeah.
in seeing your shirt, I wanted to tell you, I played the Astrobot Christmas level, and they
Okay.
had a Dark Souls armor in it.
Oh
So that's
boy.
what that reminded me of, as like a costume.
Yeah.
Not much to say about that. It's just a
I
quick little
mean,
hit.
it was
Fun
game
Christmas
of the
level,
year.
yeah. Oh well. My issue with that is I think that game is great. It feels like a commercial, and that's what bugs
Yeah.
me. That's what really bugs me
Well,
about that game.
you know, maybe Jeff Keighley got a few dollars from Sony, you know,
Uh,
and
he got a lot of dollars from Sony. I mean, they showed the new Naughty Dog game there, and from what I could tell,
oh
from
wow,
what I've
that
heard, it's $900,000 a minute at the Game Awards because of how many eyeballs there
yeah,
are. That's what I've heard.
yeah.
So that Naughty Dog trailer for Intergalactic was like a
There's
5
been a
or
lot of
6 minute
mixed
trailer.
reception for that Naughty Dog game.
Well,
I'm
because of
really
their
interested in it though. Like I think it's gonna
because
be
they
really
are the
cool.
worst people you've ever known. It's people that hate women.
Yeah,
Screw them.
yeah,
Forget it.
yeah.
Who
It's
cares?
been a
Nobody cares
kind
about
of
these people.
a stupid thing with that, but
It's
like
the Gamer Gators that came for freaking Ellie and the
yeah,
Joel stuff in Last of Us 2. Like,
yeah,
forget them. They are the
yeah,
minority. I
yeah.
do not care about these people.
Right.
The game looks awesome. It
Yeah,
looks
no, it
awesome.
looks really
But there
cool.
is
I
that.
love the space setting personally, so I
Yeah,
want to see what
there
they
is
Naughty Dog
that.
can do with that.
Totally, totally. Sorry to step on you.
No, you're fine.
There is that corporate commercialism though in that trailer where Porsche is like her spaceship, and they literally got Porsche to design a spaceship because you can't just make something that says Porsche on it. And
Yeah,
she has the Sony radio because that's free for them. They own them.
yeah,
They also have Adidas sneakers, and they had Adidas sneakers and Miles Morales, and it's all commercialed up. And the cup she drinks out of is commercialized.
yeah.
Just
Well,
like
they're
Sony
probably.
is really leaning into that.
What if they're trying to do like like a corpo sort of setting like for that game,
Yeah,
and so
they're
then that
probably
would
doing a
make
Blade Runner like
sense.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, like a
Blade
Blade
Runner,
Runner thing where
Cyberpunks,
yes,
everything's
yes,
corporate, and that's fine. I think that design
it's fine.
space is fine. It feels a little but it doesn't feel as cheap to me personally as like an Astrobot sort of
Yes,
commercial
you nailed
nostalgia
it.
bait because
Mm-hmm.
in here maybe I'm guessing that I'm trusting Naughty Dog, right? I'm gonna go on a limb and trust them and say that
Oh,
they
me too.
probably have something interesting to say by using these sort of
Yes,
corporate mascots and things like that, incorporating those into their space game. I think Naughty Dog
yes,
can say something interesting, whereas with Astrobot, they're not really saying anything interesting. It's a good game, really great game from
it's a
what I've
very good
heard. I
game.
haven't gotten to play it yet,
Mm-hmm.
but um,
Mm-hmm.
I've heard it's a great game, but it also just feels a little bit of like a, hey, look, it's the Hunter from Bloodborne, the game that
It's
isn't
yeah,
doesn't have a PS5 equivalent.
right. It's tokenism. That's the problem. It is
Yeah,
point at this thing and go the whole Leo meme where it's like, hey, look at that thing. That is what
yeah,
that game is. And
yeah,
that's why it bothers me so much. Like there's no doubt, a lot of love, a lot of
yeah.
interesting, innovative things being put into it. But it ultimately feels a mile wide and an inch deep. And that's my issue. And that's how
Yeah, it's too
commercials
bad.
feel sometimes, where it's like, look at this vast, IP trove we have of all these games that don't exist from this studio that is the remnants of Japan studio. But we're going to
Yeah,
show you Patapon and we're going to show you
yeah. Don't.
Loco. But that studio doesn't exist anymore. But
Yeah.
hey, you have a fun costume to wear. That's
Here's
disgusting to
the
me.
apes
That's a
from Ape
commercial.
Escape, but we're not making any
Yes.
more of those, even though
Uh
people
huh.
liked
It
those.
is a
I
very
liked those.
sad. Yeah, it's a sad state of
I
affairs. That's what they're
Okay.
doing.
Here's my hot take for the podcast. All right,
Oh boy.
don't
Oh boy.
crucify me here, but Ape
Buckle
Escape
up.
is the best platformer of that generation. I love
Okay,
Ape
that's
Escape.
PS1.
Yeah,
Ape
platformer
Escape 1. Ape
collectathon.
Escape 1?
Yep, Ape Escape 1. Yep.
I have it. I need to finish it. I hear it's great.
I adore that game so much. Oh my
I hear it's
goodness.
awesome. I
Like,
played it. I played a fair amount of Ape Escape 1. I really like it. It's good.
yeah, I
Yeah.
played Super Mario 64 and like
Oh
Ape
wow,
Escape at
that's
like the
tough.
same like time in my like
Oh
childhood, and I liked
yeah.
Ape Escape better than I liked Mario 64. Like I loved Mario
Mhm.
64. I've sunk so many
Uh,
hours in Mario 64. But
that's
Ape
fighting words,
Escape,
brother.
I know, I just love Ape Escape. It's
Not for
such
me.
a I know.
You're just gonna piss.
It's
Yeah.
just such a well designed game. Like that generation, I think that they really nailed it with Ape Escape. That whole collectathon thing, like that's the pinnacle of collectathons for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Ape Escape is a good game. The fact that you are putting up against Mario 64 is bold. I will give you that. I will give you that.
I already said I
But kind of
liked
drilling.
Banjo Kazooie better than Mario 64. So I mean,
You know what's better than all those? Sly Cooper and Jack and Daxter. I said what I said. Don't care. Don't care. Those are
oh,
great, great games. Sly Cooper
I
especially. Sly Cooper is great.
yeah, I don't know much about Sly Cooper. I've never played those, but Jack and
Oh.
Daxter. I mean, I adore Jack and Daxter, but I don't know if
Jack
I
and
could.
Daxter one.
Yeah, that
One.
game is fantastic, but I don't know if I could definitively say it's better than Ape Escape, but it's definitely right up there for sure for
So
me.
good.
Like,
Dude,
I
that
love
first
that
game.
first game. Now, the other two
Oh.
games are great, but that first game is just like the one I go back to if I get
Yeah.
the itch.
Two, I don't like two that much. Three's pretty good. Three feels like a
Oh,
better
see,
two.
I feel like
Um,
I like two a little bit better. Like, I like
really,
the
I like the
enclosed sort of
characterization.
city.
Sure, I like the characterization of Jack better in three personally, and I
Hmm.
kind of like the whole road warrior aspect of it, or Thunderdome aspect. Where they're kind of
Yeah.
like in a desert area. I like that better.
It's
But
interesting to
the,
see like the progression with Naughty Dog, right? They start out with like
mm,
Crash Bandicoot with like this character that has an attitude. You know, he's like the mascot, character that Sony needed. Um, but he's not like he's not a whole lot going on underneath the skin there. Like there's
yeah,
not a lot of
simple
depth to
platformer.
that character there. Then they go to
Hmm.
Jack and Daxter, and they
Hmm.
they make it another, sort of not really a mascot per se, but close to a mascot, and he's just like,
Yeah.
this silent protagonist guy collecting the things, They got some interesting things going on in that game, a lot more story. But then they just hit you with Jack 2, and it's like, oh yeah, we're GTA now, we can do what
Basically,
we want, that was their Shadow the Hedgehog, right? Sony's Shadow
Jack
the
has a
Hedgehog.
gun now, and he
Yeah.
cusses. He says,
Yeah,
"Damn,
he
watch out!"
does. He says that. Isn't
Whoa.
it great? No,
Yeah,
but
he
they
is
they
so edgy.
they have a little bit too much edge in there, right? But they do
Hmm.
still have some interesting things to say in Jack 2 and 3. But
The
then
first
that
thing he says in Jack 2 is like, "I'm gonna go kill someone."
yeah,
Everyone's like,
yeah.
"Yo,
Yo, Jack can talk now? Yeah, that was
yeah,
crazy to me as a kid, but
yeah."
so, and then we go to Naughty Dog's other stuff, and then all of a sudden they doing these narrative sort of games, and it's like, oh, okay,
Hmm.
so that Jack was just building up to sort of that they wanted to switch to making more narrative focused games. So it's an
Yeah, it
interesting
was very,
progression for that studio. I
yeah,
really have a lot of respect for Naughty Dog. I love Naughty Dog. So I love
yeah.
Crash, I love Jack, and I love,
Every one of their games are good. Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
love Last of Us. So
They have not missed in the gameplay department. I think I have issues with
yeah,
Last of Us 2's story. Maybe
yeah.
we could talk about that at some point. I have
Yeah,
major issues with that story.
I need to play
But
that game so I can form my thoughts on that
oh,
one.
okay.
But
Okay, sure. Maybe sometime we'll
yeah,
actually really drill down and talk about it because it's a very complicated game to
yeah,
even broach these days. I think the HBO show is going to fall into a lot of pitfalls too because of it. Um, but there's a couple things I want to say when it comes to Naughty Dog. I like the progression, right? Like you said, starting for mascot platformers and kind of working their way forward to these narrative third-person adventure games. Really interesting, really well done, and it all makes sense chronologically. Like, hey, they
yeah,
came from this, they ended up here.
yeah,
You can see in every one of these games like how they get to a certain point, and it
yeah,
was really like it was the Uncharted things that really kicked that off. Where it's like we're still cartoony enough to be considered a action platformer for kids kind of,
yep,
but as each subsequent thing kind of hit, and then The Last of Us was released in kind of the same window as Uncharted 3,
yeah,
um basically they split off in two teams and did The Last of Us, Uncharted
I
3.
still need to play those
They kind of
Uncharted
became more.
games.
Oh, you need to. They're
Yeah,
great.
I own them. I just
But
haven't gotten around to it.
you should. We should. That'd be a great dreaded backlog to get to because I played those and they're fantastic.
Yeah.
Once they get to Last of Us, they kind of grew up, right?
Yeah.
And it really, infected is a dumb thing to say. It really, became part of even Uncharted 4 being darker and being, kind of a darker adventure while still having the adventure spirit of like an Indiana Jones and the old versions of that. Um, I like seeing the progression and seeing what they're doing with Intergalactic is
Yeah.
really interesting because note this in the teaser they put out, they did not say they did not lead with like from the makers of The Last of Us and Uncharted. They led with from the creators of Crash Bandicoot and Jack and Daxter. I
Yeah.
find this fascinating
That's
because I
really
think they're going
crazy.
back to those sorts of roots for this, like this adventure, action adventure game. I think it's
They
going to
want
be
it to be more
rendered like
lighthearted, do you think?
yes, and I
Yeah.
think they want it to be more swashbuckling,
Yeah.
Um, and I'm really excited to see what they
I'm
do
looking
because they,
forward to it. I think they can, and I think you can
yeah,
still say something interesting in that lighthearted space. Like, you don't have
absolutely.
to, just be, cookie cutter in that, lighthearted space. You don't have to have darkness and grit to say something
Yeah.
interesting, right? That's just
No,
not
you
how
don't.
the world works, You can
I
be
think some of the most
lighthearted and interesting and say
I
interesting
think some of the
things.
most mature conversations I've heard in games came from those sorts of like platformers scaled for younger people. Like for instance, Psychonauts 2, great game, great
Yeah.
series. It has some of the most adult themes and mature topics of any game I've ever
Yeah.
seen. If it's handled well, dependent on material, if it's handled well, you can really pull it off.
Yeah.
And I think the the entire structure of the game is kind of to be determined. I don't know if it's going to be an open world thing. I don't know if it's going to be level based. I have no idea the structure of Intergalactic. But if they get that tone right, that lighthearted tone mixed with like really endearing characters and well told stories, I think they're really going to just nail this new IP. I have every it's telling to me that they are making a new IP and they're not just doing The Last of Us 3. That
Yeah.
is super telling for me
Yeah.
because the easy thing is to go like The Last of Us makes a ton of money. Like it just
Yeah.
does. It's Sony's probably most important franchise, I hate to say. Besides like I don't know, Spider-Man probably or God of War. It's those
Spider-Man.
three.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
It really
that's their
technically
franchise
it
technically,
technically
yeah.
I mean it's really their baby, when it comes to a game sense.
Yeah.
Um and I just think that them doing a new IP is so bold when they could have done something so much easier, right?
Yeah.
And just finished the Ellie story. And I'm just like, this is interesting. And it's not just that. Neil Druckmann is directing it. Like that is the most interesting part of it. He's not off doing Last of Us 3. He's doing this,
Yeah.
right? They're basically saying like, no, 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 no. This is not a side thing. This is the thing.
Yeah.
Last of Us 3 might be a side thing. And as they've had these little solo games pop up with the Lost Legacy for Uncharted, which is kind of like Uncharted 4.5, or, some of the DLCs for The Last of Us, they've had these different directors kind of pop up. Kurt Margino and a couple other people, and some people have even left and gone to other studios. Like for instance, some people went to like Sony Santa Monica, and some people went to Insomniac, that sort of thing. They've kind of fostered these new creative leads to carry the torch, and I wonder if they're going to do that with the new Last of Us 3 and have Druckmann do this new IP, right? And I don't know if that's going to be going forward, but they're going like, hey, you take like the new exciting thing and you go finish this off because we trust you, right?
Yeah.
Fascinating studio. They are the best working, like in terms of like quality, like all around. They make the most polished games besides like Nintendo,
Yeah.
and the most well-made games besides like a FromSoft or something. That's like Nintendo, FromSoft, Naughty Dog. Those are the three. Like
Yeah.
really.
Really, yeah.
Um, dude, I'm stoked for this game. I don't think we'll see it until like 27, but they've been working on it for 4 years. It's hard to know when production actually started. I assume they concepted for a couple years and they've started making the game for the last two. I don't know when we'll see actual gameplay because it's a teaser, but since it's full cinematics in engine, in game, there's a good chance that they have a lot more to show. And I don't know if we're going to see that next year or the year after. So,
Yeah. Man,
Yeah,
it's funny
fascinating
for you
stuff.
to like say like FromSoft as like a top studio because like
It definitely is.
even
Yeah,
like 10 years ago, like I don't think anyone was really saying
I know.
that. They've
Well, they were
really,
niche.
yeah,
Yeah.
they've really come into like figuring
Hmm.
out what they are about and what their player base wants. And I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit left behind with some of their game decisions. I've talked about that before, but
Sometimes.
I still
Yeah.
want to support them. And I mean, they've got that new game, the what is it, the let me
Yeah. Night
the
Rain.
Night Rain,
Night
yeah.
Rain.
So that's going to
That
be
is
like a sort of like
wild.
a
Yeah.
co-op first sort of game. I guess you'll be like dropped into sort of like raid sort of missions.
Yeah. From my understanding, the structure is you have a set time to finish things, and
Yeah,
you can only run it by yourself or three people, no co-op,
yeah,
like two-player co-op.
that's
It is kind of
interesting.
wild.
Yeah,
Yeah. But there is literally the Fortnite walls are closing in on you sort of thing.
yeah.
It is kind of a service game in some ways. Not
Wow.
really. Like it's taking those service tendencies like the battle royale idea,
Mm-hmm.
but they're putting it into kind of like a run-based Souls like, which
Yeah,
I don't know how that's going to play. I think if they balance it well, it'll be fine. But I don't think it's going to be like the most story-heavy thing in the world, or anything like
sure.
that, because you're on a time limit. But the most interesting about this, there are shared bosses from their other games in this trailer for Night Rain.
Yeah,
You literally are fighting the nameless
Nameless
king for Dark Souls
King.
3.
Yep.
Like, how are they going to even explain that? I have no idea if they're even going to care.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's going to be something that is just like, is this a corporate mandate, make this live service thing, or is this something they really want to do? Like, I don't know how this is manifesting.
Yeah, I want to
So
hear. I
random.
want to hear Miyazaki explain this. Like, I want to see how many
Yes,
poison swamps he can fit into this.
a lot. So 3 players, multiple poison
Yeah,
swamps.
I hope so. If there's not a single
We're kind of
poison swamp, I'm not gonna play the game. By the way, let's just like get that out of the way. Like, no poison
oh
swamps. It
well,
means that Miyazaki hasn't even touched it. Like, so
basically, he's just like, you know what? More cowbell. Like I feel like this needs more
more
cowbell,
poison swamps.
more poison swamps. Hey, could you add a little cowbell here? Let's add a little more cowbell. I
Oh
think
man,
you know what this place needs? More cowbell.
more cowbell. What a
But
classic
yeah, we're
skit.
kind of
But
talking. We're kind of talking
yeah,
about
no, I mean,
Game Awards stuff for sure. This is
yeah,
one of the big ones. Yeah,
I've got like I've got the Kingsfield long box back there, and the interesting thing with
I
like the
see.
Kingsfield games is that those weren't even published here in the States by FromSoft. Those were published by ASCII Entertainment. So, like,
Oh, that's right. I've seen this. Yeah,
yeah,
I've seen the.
so like I mean, they weren't even a publisher when they started out, right? Like they really have just like from the ground up grown, into
Mhm.
this. Like they started from the bottom essentially and have
Mhm.
really just
Yeah.
grown up. It's kind of crazy following the history of that
Yeah.
developer for sure.
They were making Metal Wolf Chaos back in the day, and now look
Metal
at them.
Wolf Chaos, awesome game, awesome game.
I'm the president
I'm
of
the
Dungeon
president of the
Videos.
United States.
Yes,
Why do I do
yes,
it?
that
It's
is.
because I'm the president of the United States.
Every
Oh man,
sentence is him proclaiming himself. I'm the president. It's the best. Metal Wolf
the
Chaos.
president
That's
that
the
we
real
need
best game.
is the president from Metal Wolf Chaos.
I envision Trump just
Oh
being Metal Wolf Chaos guy.
I hope
I
not.
hear there's bad
Oh
people. We
gosh.
don't like them. I'm going to blow
We
you up.
we can't give that guy a mech. We just can't. I'm sorry.
Oh, he would be indestructible. Did you see? Okay, I don't want to get too much into this because this is politics, but he's hilarious. So I'm going to kind of talk about it. Did you see his new haircut? We'll start there.
No. Oh
He
no.
walks into this lobby. Okay. Oh my God. I'm going to tie this in with the Mac. I promise. He walks into this lobby and he's loving the attention he's getting. He's just loving it, and he's just walking up like this. How's everybody doing? Everybody all right? And he's like, is everybody a Republican? People go like, yeah. And this one lady goes like, can you hire my son? And I'm just like, oh my
Oh
God.
gosh.
Imagine him walking up in a Panzer going like, I'm going to blow you up. I'm going to be honest. It's gonna be nasty. No one likes it, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. My people tell me, lovely people, wonderful
Oh,
people,
gosh.
we're gonna blow you up, Metal Wolf Chaos, because I am the president. I am the president. It's gonna happen.
Oh man.
Could you imagine? So funny. That clip was going around where he got this new haircut, and
That's great.
someone said he looks like Charlie's mom from Always Sunny, and I just,
Oh no!
you
I
have
love
to
that
see
show. I
this.
love Always
It's
Sunny.
so funny, but you
Yeah,
have to
I
see
gotta.
that. And he thinks he looks good too. Metal of Chaos, we love it. It's not a great trim,
Oh
but you get the
gosh,
gist.
that is a haircut.
Did you see it? Did you see it?
Oh
Yeah.
man, that's
He's
great.
got his pants all the way up to his
Yep,
navel, and he's just like,
yep,
"How's everybody doing?"
that's great.
Um, oh
All
my
right.
God, we got to get out of politics.
We
We're
do.
muddying the waters here.
Don't
This is
do
about
that.
video games, darn it.
Yes, yes.
Um,
So
yeah.
let's just talk
Anyway,
about new games. So I've got a couple of them pulled up here. So if you don't mind, I'll take the floor.
yeah. You do that, and then I'll cover the last couple things I got after you. So
Sure.
by all means.
So yeah, Sony unveiled to kind of tie in, I guess, or maybe the secret level is did I say Sony? Bandai Namco revealed to tie
Yes.
into like the secret level, or maybe this, I don't know, chicken or the egg sort of thing, but
I had
they're
no idea this
doing
game
a
existed
new
until, yeah.
Pac-Man that is going to be a 2D action platformer, and you play as
Yeah.
like a guy like that's not a guy. He's like in a cloak, and like he's spits like evil Pac-Man fire, and yeah.
Yeah. So this is weird. Okay. Okay, we came to this. I watched the secret level, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, what a fun, interesting take on biblical Pac-Man. That's
Biblical
crazy.
accurate Pac-Man.
Yeah, and I get to the Game Awards and they have a game, and I'm like, oh,
Oh.
this is
Pac-Man. Okay.
this is what this is. So it's a tie-in to this game they're making. That's a Pac-Man Metroidvania, which cool.
Yeah.
Very cool, but not seeing the initial inspiration to start with was really jarring. I'm like, oh, this is actually tying into something.
Yeah.
This isn't just something they pitched to like Blur Studio.
Yeah.
Really wild stuff. The game itself, it's called like what, Shadow something?
Labyrinth.
What's it called?
Yeah.
Shadow Labyrinth.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's gonna have to do with Pac-Man. The short.
We
barely
don't
has
actually
anything
know if
to
it's
do
going to be a
with Pac-Man,
Metroidvania yet. We just know that it's going to be an action platformer. So we don't know how
That's
many
gonna
like sort of Metroidvania elements there's going to be. We don't know if it's going to have an interconnected map. We don't know that kind of details
It's
yet.
it's gonna be Metroidvania. It's a labyrinth. It can't not be. It has to be. Who knows? I don't know. Anyway,
I don't
Pac-Man looks
trust
sick.
Bandai Namco as far as I can throw them. I'll just put that out there. So
Yeah, fair.
they're a mixed bag publishers to me. So
Yeah. What, you didn't like Code Vein? You didn't like Code Vein? What's wrong with Code Vein?
I don't want to talk about Code Vein. That's like my like game that I'm banning. I don't like.
Jeez.
I don't
Whoa,
like Code
that's a
Vein
raw button
at
I just
all.
hit.
No.
What if the vampires kissed? What if the vampires kissed
Oh
though?
gosh.
What
That
if they
game's just too horny for its own
Too-
good. Holy crap.
It's too etchy. You're saying it's too etchy
Yeah.
for Noah?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It makes me blush.
Oh, wow.
You know? Makes me uncomfortable.
Ooh, ooh.
I just don't
So,
like
yeah.
it. I don't think it
Yeah.
has much interesting to say.
It's
in
kind of a
that.
bad game. Yeah, it's just a bad game. Yeah.
Some
It's
of the
just-
combat's like okay. A lot of like Souls fans like the combat of it. I think it's all right. I don't think it's
Yeah.
anything to write home about. Yeah, I didn't. I played through it. I didn't really enjoy it that much, but
All right, easy. Banned. No more talking about Code Vein. You got your wish. That's all I needed to hear. It's just so funny that I hit a raw nerve. I was like, "Oh, this is an interesting, touchy subject."
yeah,
You're like, "No,
it's
thanks."
just not a game I like to prop up too much. So it's
Actually,
a fine
ban
game,
it. No one
but-
wants it. Yeah, yeah. We're banning Code Vein. Well, okay. So honestly, Game Awards kind of wild. There's a lot going on.
Yeah,
The one thing I wanted to bring up was they announced Okami 2.
yeah, that's pretty crazy.
That's
that game
crazy?
came out like forever ago, right? And it's been on like every Nintendo system ever.
yeah.
So since like the
Let's put it this
DS, yeah.
That game came out on the PS2 and the GameCube, and
Was it? No,
that
no,
is
that
a
wasn't on the GameCube. No,
was it not? Okay, no,
no,
you're
it was
right.
on the
It was
Wii.
only it was on the Wii and the PS2. I'm
Yep,
sorry, it
Wii
was on the Wii and
PS2,
PS2.
2008. Yeah. Then they did Okami
2008.
Den on the DS in
Yes, they did Okami
2011.
Den.
Yeah.
That's a good game too. Um, and it actually makes more sense on the DS, which is
I
interesting.
haven't
But
played any of these Okami games. It's been like something
they're
I've been meaning to play, but I just haven't gotten around to it.
they're Zelda likes, which is
That's what I
interesting.
keep hearing, but
think
how is like my mind can't comprehend, I guess, this like wolf thing being a Zelda like. So
okay, in structure it's Zelda, but it has like arena combat where you get locked in and fight enemies, and it has this art portion where you use basically like it doesn't work well. That's why it works better on the DS. You're using this brush to kind of attack and stuff, and so it's kind of a
it probably
tough
works
thing to
pretty
learn if
well
you
on the
don't pay
Wii
attention.
then.
Yes, motion stylus that works better than a
Yeah,
PS2 or anything
sure.
like that. You can play it with a controller. It's just not ideal. I don't know how they're going to do this new one. If it will just be gestures, or it will be like fighting games where it's quarter circle, half circle. That's kind of what I'm looking at. But anyway, this game looks really cool. Or the idea of it is cool because Hideki Kamiya came back for it, like straight
Yeah,
up reformed Clover Studio into
yeah,
Clovers, and it's so what's interesting, he left Capcom because of creative differences. All right. He goes to Platinum Games, makes amazing video games. He makes
yeah,
Vanquish, he makes freaking Bayonetta.
yeah,
He had a hand in some near stuff. Um, Leaves that place for creative decisions, comes back to Capcom, reforms Clover Studio to make Okami, a sequel to a game that has not had any iteration aside from a DS spinoff
yeah.
for plus 20 years.
You've got to
It is kind of
love
a wild thing.
Hideki Kamiya though. Like he can do essentially whatever he wants, right?
Yeah,
He's like a Hideo Kojima, really. He can just like do whatever he
yeah.
wants, and people will just eat it up. Because he just makes good games. He's like, yeah, I
I'm
just like
pretty
to make good
sure.
games.
I'm pretty sure he directed Resident Evil 2, like
Yeah,
original. I think he did Resident Evil 2,
sounds
like
right.
the one people love, the N64 PS1 version.
Yeah,
Um, and people like that remake too. But he is like big time, old time Capcom. He did Beautiful Joe. He did that. He
yeah.
did
Beautiful
Okami.
Joe, fantastic game.
Yeah, this guy is legendary.
Yeah,
So the fact he comes back to Capcom after many, 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 many years, um, for this project means a
yeah.
lot to a lot of people. Okami is a legendary, revered game. I've
No,
never
he's
finished
gonna do
Okami.
it.
I've played a
He's gonna
lot
do
of
it
Okami,
justice, I'm sure. And I need
but
to
he's gonna do it
play
justice.
Okami,
Yeah,
yeah, before this new game
yeah.
comes out for sure.
It's a gorgeous game. It's just one of those games I got sidetracked on. I own it on like 3 systems, but it's a
Yeah,
very good game.
same.
I will get back to it at some point. Excuse me, but
Yeah,
yeah, the fact that he came back for it is wild, wild stuff.
yeah. Looking
Um,
forward to that definitely.
that also the next big thing for a creator coming back to kind of well-worn territory. Fumito Ueda's game it got shown. Project Robot, the guy who made Eco, the guy who made Shadow of the Colossus,
Hmm,
The Last Guardian,
yeah,
showed his new game off, and it's not much of a game, but the fact that there was a new Fumito Ueda game, a Hideki Kamiya game, and a Naughty Dog game
yeah.
here,
I
that
think
is like a great show.
I think we're gonna have a good year for games whenever these games start dropping. I mean,
Yeah, it's a bright future, man.
yeah.
Like some of the stuff that you're just like shocked is even there. When they were talking, like, okay, so there was a bunch of insiders going like about the Game Awards. They're like, this thing is going to blow people's minds. You're not going to believe this game is here, this and that. And I'm like, okay, what is going to be here? Like Half-Life 3? Some people were like trying
Half
to
Life
like say
Three.
exactly. And I'm like, come on, it can't be that crazy. But
Yeah,
the fact that those three were there,
yeah,
and then on top of that, The Witcher 4 got announced.
yeah.
That's an all-time show, dude.
Oh man, Witcher 4.
All-time
I'm a
show.
huge Witcher fan, so I'm definitely looking for the
Gigantic.
Witcher
Dude, I've
4.
listened to most of the books. I
Yeah,
played so much of 3. I played
yeah.
all
I
of
love
2.
all
Oh my
those
gosh.
games. Love that
I
world
love the
building. Love that
show.
lore. Love the show.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
So
gosh. I am so sad. People are being dumb about that game too. Where like, oh, series of which just people hate women. It sucks. They suck. Like
oh
if you
really?
played Witcher,
Are
yes,
they
they're
mad about
grousing
Witcher
about
4?
this.
because it's gonna be
Yes, they're
mostly
like,
about
oh,
Ciri.
she can't be a Witcher. I'm like, well, dumbass, if you played Witcher 3,
Yeah.
you'd see that she was becoming a Witcher.
Yeah.
Like, play
Of
the game.
course she can be a
They're just
Witcher.
mad that she's a
Yeah.
woman.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So stupid.
Yeah, it's so dumb. That's great cinematic. They are in full production on it. I think they have been working on it since the end of Cyberpunk. There's been kind of a skeleton team, well, not skeleton team, a smaller version of Cyber or CD Projekt Red, pumping out Phantom Liberty in their second studio, and they're also making Cyberpunk 2 in their LA or American studio,
Yeah.
basically. While the Polish version of CD Projekt is a full bore Witcher 4.
Yeah.
And now that Cyberpunk is done with Phantom Liberty and all that stuff, besides working on that stuff, they went back to Cyberpunk 2, regular Polish CD Projekt, all Witcher 4. So
Yeah.
they're pumping out games in two ways, right? But the fact that we saw even a cinematic of it was just,
Yeah.
it was, dude. I was so excited when I saw this.
Same,
I was like, there's no way this is The Witcher 4.
Yeah.
There's no way. Amazing trailer, so good. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I loved that trailer. You know, I love where they're going with the direction of it. You know, they can't go wrong with Witcher. Like, you know,
No,
I just
The thing
trust them. I
yeah.
trust them with Witcher, and I trust them to do
Yeah.
that IP well. Because I mean, I love that IP so much. I love that, you know, everything about it.
Yeah.
And so,
Witcher 3 is the
oh gosh,
top 10 video game, man.
It's at least one of the best open world games out there. I don't even like open world games, but like I adore that game.
There's a few moments in games, all right, in the last 20 years. Okay. Like big games. It's like GTA 5. It's like Skyrim. It's like Elden Ring. It's like Baldur's Gate 3. It's like The Witcher 3. Like games that just, no matter who is interested in what, they are like pulled gravitationally to them. Like that is what this feels
Witcher
like.
3 just kind of came out of nowhere and just like
exactly
broke records.
Yes,
like,
and that is how Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to feel. Like it's a cultural moment for games and gamers. That's how that game felt at the time. People were like, this came out the same year Fallout 4 came out, and it completely clowned it in every way possible.
Yeah.
People were like, this is like the best game quality-wise we've ever played, like top to bottom.
It's
and
just such pristine quality game. Like I don't
Red
know
Dead
how
Redemption
they did
2,
it.
another one.
Red
Dead Redemption 2 is very similar.
Well, and they've even got stupid Witcher 3 running on the Switch. Like, how do you get that running on the Switch? They got it running on they outsourced it to another studio. I don't remember the brilliant minds
I think it's Panic Button, maybe? I don't know.
Maybe,
Panic Button does all those Switch
it was a really brilliant studio who did this, because they've got that game running. From what I understand, that Switch version runs great. So, I mean,
it runs like 30. I'm pretty sure it's pretty low res, but like the fact you can play The Witcher 3 not on cloud and fully on your Switch is insane. It's insane. Like completely fully featured too. Like they did not compromise on anything in the game besides visuals. It's wild. It's wild. The fact that they did that is amazing. It is a cultural moment when it came out. Witcher 4 will be the same way.
Yeah.
And they're going to support the crap out of it, is what the thing is too. They're going to have multiple DLCs like they did for the original. They're going to have standalones. Like they're going to. It is going to be the next big thing in games after GTA 6. I think the next one people are going to get towards is Witcher 4.
Yeah,
for sure. Man, I want to play Witcher 3 again, dude. It is so good. It is one of the best games ever made.
Yeah, I always will like start it up and like start a new run, and then I just like get stuck doing other things.
Totally.
And I'm like, man, but like when I am just like in those, even it's just like those early segments, I'm like, this is a living, breathing world, you know. Like
yes, oh my god,
it feels so well like put together, you know. It's not
once
like as concise and like, you know, it's not as like clockwork as like a Majora's Mask, you know, world, but like you still have those NPCs that just sit around, do nothing, you know, whatever, you know. But
like, it's like Skyrim. It's one of those worlds you can walk through. You know?
Absolutely, yeah. It just feels, but it feels a lot more alive than like a Skyrim to me, at least. Like just because you know it's got a bit newer hardware backing it, you know, and like just CD Projekt in general just did a fantastic job on that game. That game is just like magic. Like I don't know how they did it.
Yeah,
that game is crazy.
That's honestly, dude. Like I told you about this last pod and a couple times before. Red Dead 2, really similar. It's magic. It feels like they It's magic that only people could make.
Yeah.
It's not something that's AI generated. It's not something
Yeah.
that you happen upon. It's
Yeah,
curated.
AI generated doesn't make any magic.
No, it only destroys. It
Yeah.
only learns what people tells them.
Yeah.
Everything in that game and the Red Dead 2, Elden Ring, curated by humans, made for human consumption.
Yeah.
And I just, dude, Red Dead 2, if you get that feeling from Witcher 3, Red Dead 2 is going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
Like,
I need to get
there,
around to playing that game.
you will straight up, and I don't want to get too far into it because I could just talk all day about Red Dead 2. You will save somebody from a random attack
Yeah.
in a game, right? Rattlesnake bit him. I need medicine. Whatever.
Yeah.
He's laying on the side of the road. You're like, what? You're going doing something else. Who knows? Maybe you're just sauntering off, seeing what there is to see in Red Dead. You're on your horse, galloping away. You're getting from one side of the map to the other. You're killing animals as you go. Whatever. You have things you're doing, skinning animals. Whatever. You're doing something else. That guy's on the side of the road. Got a rattlesnake bite. You give him medicine. It's like, thank you, mister. I won't forget about this. Literally, you could be 10 hours down the road in your game. The same guy comes back. I remember you, man. Let me treat you some. I'm going to treat you.
Yeah.
Come to the store over here. I'll buy you this gun.
That's
and you're
awesome.
like, what?
Yeah.
What? What is this game doing? This is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that they do stuff
That's
like
awesome.
that and they just throw it. So they go like, we're throwing this football, man. Where it lands, who knows? But you'll be down there to catch it, and you're going to be blown away that you were right there when this happened. It is, oh my God, it is transcendental storytelling, like a Witcher 3,
Yeah.
like a Skyrim in some way. Like, it just feels like the game is literally in conversation with you every step of the way.
Yeah.
It's amazing stuff. It is literally magic. I could not believe that happened to me in Red Dead 2, for instance.
I think
you know?
that's like the thing with games too, is like there's so many studios out there putting out these really well polished games, you know, no matter like what year it is, but it's always the games that like aren't, you know, don't quite get that polish, you know, don't quite, you know, live up and match the standards, you know, that people have, that, you know, really people just focus in on. It's like, well, you know, you can't just focus in on those types of games. And even those games, you know, a lot of those games really do have a lot of passion behind them a lot of times, you know, and, you know, sometimes they just miss the mark in one way or another. You know, they don't have the resources they need, or, you know, they don't have the time they need. But, you know, I just think that, you know, gaming, you can't base a year off of, you know, those types of games, you know, that don't quite meet expectations. You got to base it off the games that are like the big, you know, highlight, you know, sort of games.
Sure. I get what
that
you're
really
saying, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, when it comes to those big games, the games that are those cultural touchstones, those moments, you see the money on the screen, you feel it in your hands, you hear it in every step you take. You're like, these people wanted me to feel this certain way right now, like I'm feeling. And you're just like, dude, it is just straight up magic.
Yeah.
It's just magic. And these big games, when they're well funded like that, and they have a direction and they take it and they completely execute on it, that's rare. And when you get those few games every 5-6 years, like, I think this Naughty Dog game is going to be one of these moments for people where people are going to go like, holy cow.
Yeah.
People are going to go, holy cow, what is this game? This is incredible stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like that in some ways, kind of like in a smaller scale, it's like a Balatro. People are like, oh my God, this game is amazing. You know, it feels like a cultural thing everyone kind of fell into. It's not on that scale necessarily.
Yeah.
Like
a Balatro is like, you know, like
scales.
a smaller thing, you know, where like, you know, they can really just,
it's like an echo chamber version
explode,
of that.
Yeah. And so it's nice that design space for like a Balatro to thrive exists, while also the design space for like a bigger game like a Metaphor or an Astrobot even to thrive exists as well. So,
and I hear a lot about exactly what you're saying, where the middle class of game has fallen out, right? Like, executives are saying this. Sean Layden has been saying this, is ex PlayStation CEO, and I'm just like, you know, the middle class has fallen out of vogue some ways because it's an expensive industry to begin with.
Yeah.
But what's taken place is indies picking up the mantle.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
indies are just that same quality, if not better, than those old, you know, middleware sort of games.
Honestly, like, I will say a mouthwashing has stayed in my head longer than Assassin's Creed Odyssey, for instance. You know, it's crazy. Like, stuff like that can just stick with you. And that's a 2-hour game. I played 160 of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I got almost nothing out of it as
Yeah.
compared to Math Washing. And it's just like it doesn't scale like that. Like
Yeah.
you're getting value in different ways,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
So the middle class is falling away, but is it making room for something more interesting? Almost definitely.
Yeah.
Almost definitely. Most of the games I've been playing are indie games. The next game I'm going to talk about at some point is Tactical Breach Wizards. That is an
Yeah.
indie game, right?
Yep.
And it's filling that hole that AA games used to be, like a character platformer or something like that. The games that are, popular and big for a long time have been fostered and been supported for years, and those people are still clinging on to those. So people haven't had the need for those filler games. So like when the big explosions happen, you have the indies and the service games taking hold, and everything else is kind of in the lurch, right?
Yeah.
But the indie stuff has really, really been the strongest aspect of the gaming industry as a whole. Most of my list is indie games this year, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
It's nuts. And I guess I'll use that to kind of segue into, unless you have anything going on with Game Awards you want to talk to. Those were like the big hits I wanted to
Yeah.
get to.
I mean, I've
Um,
got a few more news things I'd like to talk about.
okay,
But
sure.
I don't, if we want to break it up and talk about some of your like indie stuff, we certainly can.
Yeah, I just have a couple things. That's
Yeah.
it. I don't want to even. Then we can go the rest of the way with all that
Cool.
because the Game Awards was so packed, like it's a 4-hour
Yeah,
show.
I got a
So
couple
there was a
things that
lot
are
to talk
outside
about.
of the Game Awards, so
Okay,
yeah.
perfect, perfect. So I'll make it quick, make it brief. I
Yeah.
did want to talk about this before I forget. Tactical Breach Wizards. I mentioned it a couple weeks ago. It's rocketed up into my top 10 like of this year. It is that Into the Breach fix that I want. It is a combat puzzle, an isometric puzzle. I don't know if you'd like it that much. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
If you don't like isometric stuff, I don't know. But it's a turn-based strategy, tactical strategy game, and I just think the story is great. The writing's fantastic. It feels like I don't know, Into the Breach by way of Medal of Honor Warfighter, where you have a bunch of guys in ghillie suits and beards while you're kind of moving them like chess pieces. It feels really, really great. Like the playing of it is just it is just that sweet spot of games I like where it's system based. I can turn my brain off and go like, or not turn my brain off. I can like look at the problem and solve it and
Yeah.
not have to have a bunch of like background noise going on. It's a perfect podcast game. The
Yeah.
music is fine. It's pretty good, whatever. There's no voice acting, so that doesn't get in the way at all. It's just like you sit down, you solve this puzzle. You're basically breaching into this area filled with enemies, and they ask you to figure it out. And there's puzzles within each you know circumstance basically. And you have this kind of like rotating party as you progress of these tactical operatives that are specialized in many things. There's like one that is like a actual witch where she has like this lightning strike she can do that bounces from enemy to enemy and kind of ricochets off of different people or different things. You have this lady that has this ability. She's like a doctor, a medic type, where if one of your people goes down, she can shoot them, make sure they're dead, and then revive them, and they come back to full health. And she has this like ability where she throws a door on a wall behind an opponent, and you can use another character synergy to shoot them and push them into it. Like the puzzle, the building blocks, everything kind of crescendos in this beautiful systemic play that I just really adore. And I found that it's become one of my favorite things in a game is this sort of table setting for combat, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like it's this game, it's Into the Breach, it's like Invisible Ink, these isometric Baldur's Gate in some way, where you're thinking about every consideration of a turn, and you're like, and they give you the tools to kind of retry it at will, and you're just like, man, I could just play this forever. I really, really could. I'm about, I'm a little bit more than halfway through. There are 4 acts. The first two are a little shorter. The third and fourth are a little bit longer. Each stage, there's like 8 or 10 stages per act. Each stage has like 4 or 5 battles in there, so it's a pretty hefty game by the time you're done with it. As you go down the list, there are more complex battles. Um, but just the playing of it, it's one of my favorite things I've played this year, just at an access level. Just I love the tactics to it. It makes me want to like really get into like a CRPG or something like that. Like a I don't know, like one of those old ones, like Baldur's Gate 1 or 2. Like it makes me really want to go back and go like, what am I missing? Like if I like this type
Yeah,
of game and there was something like that, what are
like
Planescape
Fallout
Torment? That's
1,
another one.
Fallout 2.
Fallout 1, 2, like what games did I miss that I
Yeah,
would that I know I'd love in this vein, right? Um,
Diablo 1
yeah,
and 2.
yeah, totally. I adore this game, man. It is as I play more of it, it keeps going higher and higher and higher. It won't beat out Indie or Metaphor for me, but it's gonna be top five. Like
Yeah.
I really believe that. It's an excellent game. I don't like I said, I don't know if you'll like it or not.
Hmm.
But that's the main thing I'm playing along with Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Um, I am really digging this game. It's just a Metroidvania for the most part,
Hmm.
but it has this really it's got the juice, man. Like it feels like these people watched an anime. You
Hmm.
know, like it's got this energy to it. Everything that you do in the game has this kind of like energetic reaction to it. Like for instance, every blade swipe is kind of a colorful effect that follows it, or every cutscene is has a lot of flair and panache to it. It feels very I don't know. It feels very gonzo. I'll put it that way. It feels very gonzo, very anime, and I love
Don't
that
tell
about
me,
it.
don't drop Gonzo when you don't mean it.
Well, not you know what I mean. It's very out.
Yeah,
It's very I don't know, outspoken. It just
yeah.
feels like a. I feel like
Uh,
art got really boring in the mid aughts, right? Everything was very safe, and then I feel like we had this kind of like end of the Disney Renaissance. They were making like Treasure Planet and all this stuff, all this interesting stuff that was really cool. But then they got away from that, and we had this kind of doldrum of DreamWorks crap for a long time, and Illumination crap. And then animation got really interesting with Spider Verse, like
yeah.
really interesting. Like once that hit, everybody got inspired. They're like, "Oh,
Gosh, I still
you
need to
can
watch
be
that
extremely
first Into the
artistic."
Spider
Y-
Verse movie.
Yeah,
I have only watched the second one. I really like that second one, but I
oh,
never got.
the first one's better. I think
Yeah,
the first one's better. But everyone got really artistic all of a sudden. They went like, "We
yeah,
can do crazy stuff now," and so you're seeing that in a lot of places. Like Marvel Rivals feels very Spider Verse coded. Um, Prince of Persia, especially. You're seeing like Cyberpunk Edge Runners is very Spider Verse.
yeah,
Um, it has a lot of like bold lines and interesting 2D art. I think Arcane is very Spider Verse like,
yeah.
where it has 3D
Oh
modeling
yeah,
with 2D effects. You know,
Arcane's incredible. Yeah.
um,
That
Arcane is incredible. Once I
Cyberpunk
finish that,
Edge
we will talk
Runners
about
is
that.
incredible too. I mean, yeah, that
Yes,
I think they're doing another one of in that like they're doing another
I heard that.
anime for
Yeah,
Cyberpunk, so that'll be interesting.
probably. I wonder if it'd be a Cyberpunk 2 thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
But anyway, the point is like animation got really bold lately in the last 6, 7 years. I
yeah,
feel like Prince of Persia is the pinnacle of that in a gameplay sense. Um, the movement is so tight. It's so tight. I haven't played a Metroidvania this tight since Metroid Dread, and that is like revered tones for me. Like
yeah,
Metroid Dread is one of the tightest platformers you can play, but the movement is super crisp. Um, you have they give you a dash pretty much out of the gate, like an hour in. Um, Amazing platforming. The combat is excellent. There's parries. It's very Sekiro like that way. There's dodges. It's all on a 2D plane, Metroidvania like. But dude, I cannot talk enough about how much I love playing this game. It is so fun. Anime is all hell. I really recommend it
yeah.
too. I will finish this before I get into Persona. And then the last thing I just touched Super Mario RPG. I've been playing a little bit of that. Not much to say,
Yeah,
but
that I mean, a
I like
lot
that
of
game.
people
So
like that game. I got into this series with the first Paper Mario, the Mario
yeah.
RPG series. So that
Mm.
kind of is like my darling for that whole like series. I haven't actually gone back and played that Super Mario RPG. If I was to play it, I don't know if I would play that Switch remake or if I would play the Super Nintendo version. I'm kind of iffy on
Mhm.
which one I would
Yeah,
rather play.
they're
Um,
different. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but
The presentation's different for sure.
yeah. I mean I've got
It's
like I
interesting.
love CRT gaming, so like I would probably maybe enjoy it better on that original like sprite, based
Mhm.
Mario RPG
Yeah,
Super Nintendo version, but I don't know. I honestly don't know which one I'd prefer, but
Yeah, and I didn't want to talk at length about Mario RPG. I just started it really. Like I dabbled in it a few months ago. I kind of picked up from the beginning. I was like 30 minutes in. Now I'm like
Yeah.
an hour and a half in. It's fun. It's very simple. Not a very long game. I just met Mallow, if that means anything to you. He's a cool guy.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, it feels very like Dragon Questy in a way where it's
Mm-hmm.
simplistic, but it's solid, you know. And I don't know if it's gonna like wow me in any
Yeah.
way. It feels like a good nostalgia game for those who play the original. I have no nostalgia for the original, so maybe my mileage is
Yeah.
varying on it.
It's
But
interesting because like that is the like the Square Nintendo sort of
yeah, the original
collaboration,
was
and
Square.
so
Yeah. Hmm.
but the games after that were the Paper Mario series. That's what continued the Mario
Intelligent
RPGs, and that's
systems. Yeah.
Intelligent
Yeah.
Systems, the Fire Emblem people. So like they're like, hey,
Hmm.
Fire Emblem people, make us a Mario RPG. They're like, oh, okay, sure, we could do that, and they did it. I
Yeah,
mean,
for sure.
I love those Paper Mario games, especially that Paper Mario
Yeah.
64. But
I played about 5 hours of that game. That game's great. I need to finish
yeah,
that, by the way.
but it's
Yeah.
interesting because they had the Nintendo and Square team up sort of with Mario RPG. Then they had like the Chrono Trigger was on the Super Nintendo. I mean, the Super Nintendo was a great system for JRPGs, and I have to go back and play a lot of those JRPGs.
Mhm.
I'm a more of like a PS1 and 64 player than like the Super
Mhm.
Nintendo sort of Genesis generation, and so there's a lot of
Yeah.
games that I need to go back and play from that Super Nintendo generation.
Same. Totally the same. I feel like with Chrono Trigger specifically, it feels like that same hallowed ground that people dare not tread. I
Yeah,
wonder if they remake that instead of just putting that out again. I don't know what they would do. They had a great DS port. It was a fantastic port. The PS1 port, not great, but the SNES one is what people love and remember, right? Um, I don't know. I also played on Steam too. Never completely finished Chrono Trigger, never ever. But I've played it like multiple times. Just one of those things I haven't been in the mood for it. I think if they're gonna do it right, they should just do it like the Final Fantasy remasters or whatever they've been doing. They should just put it out for modern consoles, and if they want to fix the menus or whatever, they can do that. But just don't touch the sprites. Like if they just do that and reorchestrate, good. Like that's what they did with the Final Fantasy games, and people like those remakes or remasters. Um, I think it's like one of those like I don't know special lambs to them. They're like, oh, you can't touch Chrono Trigger. Like people just revere this thing. Like you can't do anything with us. So I wonder since they're in a remaking mood lately, they've talked about remaking Final Fantasy VI in the 2D HD um, engine, or HD 2D, I should say, engine. That'd be incredible. If they did that for a Chrono Trigger 2, that could be really cool as well. But yeah,
yeah,
as for all the games I have, that's really the end of it. Don't have a lot to say about it. I don't know if I'll ever finish Mario RPG by the time we need to talk about Game of the Year end of January. I don't know, but I like it for what it is. I need to
yeah,
finish some other stuff, but yeah, I
yeah.
kind of wanted to dabble.
They
So
put out that they put that out really close. I feel like to when they put out the Thousand Year Door
same
remaster
year, yeah, it's this
on.
year, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of crazy. Um,
Yeah, it feels I don't know. It feels like they're just kind of just playing this year out and going like we got a couple big things,
yeah,
but we're not gonna overload you. But the
yeah.
fact that they released two RPGs at the same time is kind of like, are you vulturing yourself? I don't
Same
know.
as like the big Fire Emblem fan, I will say that I'm pretty sure the next thing they're doing with Fire Emblem is a remake of Fire Emblem 4 Genealogy of the Holy
Oh,
War, and that's gonna be really
they
cool. That's gonna be some
they
really
have
good
that
Fire Emblem.
remake already made. They're just waiting to put it out.
You think so?
Same for they do.
Yeah,
This has been sourced,
yeah,
and they also have Metroid Prime 2 done as well. They are waiting to
yeah,
release that.
yeah. I
Um,
can't wait for that Genealogy of the Holy War
yeah,
remake. That's gonna take up I'm just gonna drop everything for that. Like that Fire Emblem's my baby, so I
I
love Fire
wonder.
Emblem.
I wonder what level remaster or remake it's going to be. Genuinely, I don't
Oh,
know.
it's got
I
to
don't
be
know.
like a full 3D remake, surely. Like
You
they,
think so? Yeah, it
yeah,
could be. I think people would just be fine with uh, a not Final Fantasy, sorry, um, Fire Emblem, not Three Houses. What's the 3DS one you love? What's that one
Oh,
called? The
Fates and Awakening, or
Awakening.
yeah, a
Awaken.
lot of
Yes.
people love Awakening. Yeah,
If it's an Awakening level anything, people will be stoked, like just
yeah.
straight up. If it's even in that form. But yeah, I could see a 3D full
Yeah, I'm
version of
sure
that.
it'll feel like a lot like honestly, it's probably gonna feel the most like the other one that was on the 3DS. Uh
Hmm.
Fire Emblem Gaiden Shadows Valentia. Um
Yes.
Fire
Right.
Emblem Echo
Right.
Shadows of Valentia. There we go. And
Echoes. Yep.
that
Hmm.
honestly that game is a top Fire Emblem game for me. That
Really? Okay.
oh yeah,
I have that. I should
I
play that.
adore that game. I even like I bought the limited edition version of that
Hmm.
game that came with
Oh,
like the
I remember when
almond
you got that.
silica amiibos, and it came
Hmm.
with the
Hmm.
art book. I still have like that art book of the game,
I
and
remember you
like
bought that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I adore that game. Like it's a really because it's like a back to basics for Fire Emblem after like the hit that was Awakening, and then like they did like Fates that kind of built on the what
Hmm.
Awakening did, but then they kind of go to back to basics with Echoes, and I feel like that this leading into that, I think the genealogy of the Holy War remake is going to be another back to basics for Fire Emblem, and I'm really going to like that because I love those GBA Fire Emblem games that are like the basic Fire Emblem structure. And those are the ones that I think I um, like a little bit more than those 3DS games. I love those 3DS
Hmm.
games and those Switch games, but
Right.
I I love the just the simplicity of those games. Although I do love Three Houses is like storyline and things like that. But
That's one I have to finish. I still have not finished Three Houses. I need to. I have to.
it's fantastic. I love Three
I know it
Houses.
is. I know. It's one of those games it's just like you're staring down the barrel of a long road and you're just like, I
The
hope I can
worst
get to it.
part of Three Houses is the hub world, like the school like management sim stuff, like having to go
They
around and
personaed
talk
it.
to
Yeah.
people. They personaed it. They really did. And
Yeah.
they didn't I mean, that's the part, of Persona that I actually like. But with Fire Emblem, that's
Hmm.
the part of Three Houses that I dislike. So, like,
Sure.
it's kind of funny. Because, like,
Mm.
when I'm playing Persona, I've talked about this before, but I'm like, oh, I have to do a dungeon now. Oh, I got to do gameplay. I'm just here for the story. And,
Yeah. Hey, I will say, metaphor, you don't have that problem because both of
yeah,
those really good. Both of those are very good.
yeah,
You're like, oh, I get to go fight now. This is great.
yeah,
Oh, I get to go talk. This is great. Like, it's
yeah.
not. You're never going like, oh, I don't want. You're always wanting to.
Okay.
It's so good, dude. But yeah, yeah, that's all I have to play. More Game Award stuff. What do you got?
No, this isn't to do with Game Awards or anything. This is past that.
Okay, okay. I
Yeah.
thought you were segueing to that. Okay,
No.
my bad. But yeah, metaphor. Great stuff. I think you'll love that. But back to what you were saying for Fire Emblem. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, yeah. After the Fire Emblem stuff, so during like the June Nintendo Direct, they kind of shadow dropped that they were doing that Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky remake of
Yes,
that first game.
yes. I'm excited
There's more
about this. I'm
details
like
of it now.
very
They've got
excited.
like a full like
Ooh.
trailer and everything, and so gameplay is
Mm-hmm.
looking really good for
It looks
that. So
awesome.
I'm
It looks
I
awesome.
might have that be my entryway into the series instead of that older
That's the one
game.
to do. Yeah.
I'm not sure yet, but I think that's probably what I'll do. Um,
Hmm.
just play that Switch version. Because
Yeah, I was playing that one on the Vita this year, and yeah, if that remake, I'll probably stop and wait for that. Yeah.
yeah, because yeah, it's supposed to be pretty. Look, it's looking pretty fantastic for sure. So a lot of people
So
like that
there
game. So
are,
hopefully they do that game justice.
yeah.
Do that the characters justice.
Hmm.
People like that game for the characters. That's a very character driven game from what I understand. So
Yeah, when it comes to that series, the Trails games, there are three of them, right? So
yeah,
there's the first one, and then SC, and then FC. I want to say. So first, second chapter, final chapter.
yeah,
Um, it sounds like they're just remaking the first one, which is
yes,
a
yep,
hefty game for sure. I don't know if they'll do all three. They must be, right? They must be doing
Probably.
all three. Um, and
I
if
guess it'll be
so,
on
I wonder how
PS5 and
that.
Steam as well. So
Did they say that it was coming for those? Okay,
yeah.
because initially I saw Switch and PC, and I was like, oh,
Yep. It'll
okay.
be on PS5 as
Um,
well.
great, great. I will play it on there
Yeah.
because I really liked. There's something really cozy about that first game, man. I put about
Yeah.
10 hours of it in this summer. And I was like, man, this game is just piping hot. I love this stuff here.
Yeah.
It has a really interesting grid-based battle system. It feels like the isometric tactics games I like, but it has that
Hmm.
JRPG turn-based battle system that's really good. It feels kind
Yeah.
of honestly like a Persona 2 or something. It's really
Hmm.
interesting. Um, but yeah, I'm stoked for that. I saw a trailer of it. And I was like, yeah, show me more.
Yeah. The
Looks
game
fantastic.
I really like with that sort of like battle system and that sort of like, JRPG ish, world building is Grandia on the PlayStation.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. I love
Grandia.
that.
Yep.
Love that game.
Oh, by the way, I bought Grandia 3 for the PS2. It's on my shelf over
Oh,
there.
nice. I haven't
Um,
actually played that one. That's the one that I haven't played yet. I've played Grandia 1 and 2. I haven't played 3 yet, so.
do you have a PS3 that's capable of playing a PS2
No.
game or no?
No.
Dang, that sucks. I was gonna say once I'm done with it, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have Grandia 1, 2, and 3 now for my PS3, so that's
Solid,
cool.
yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah,
1 and 2 are great games,
hopefully
I
I'll
can tell
play
you
them.
that much. Especially 1. I
Yeah.
adore 1. The other
hmm
game by that same developer that you gotta check out is the Lunar series. Lunar.
Yes, Game Arts. Yeah, they did
Yeah,
Lunar, and they're
yeah.
making that remaster too, which is exciting.
That's really
I'm very
exciting.
excited about
Yeah,
that.
they
Are there?
didn't do the
There's
greatest job
two.
with the Grandia remasters, so don't expect the
Okay.
highest quality. Like there might be a lot of like smoothing of pixels and things like that. That's kind of what they
Uh,
did. For
Yuck.
I had to edit game files to remove some of the pixel
Oh,
smoothing.
really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
but on that Grandia
So
remake, but
are there? Sorry, are there two Lunar games or are there three?
there are two Lunar games. Yep.
Two. So
I've
there's the
actually only
first
played the
one.
first one, but I can play the second one. I just
Yeah.
haven't gotten around to it
So
yet.
there's the GBA one, and then the second one is on what? I forget what the second
No,
one's
no, no.
on.
There's two of them, and they're both on the PlayStation. They might have
There's
done
one.
like a
Okay, they
GBA spin-off, but or a Game Boy
spin-off.
spin-off.
Okay, maybe that's it. Or
Um,
or maybe yeah, demake or something. They have Lunar on the GBA. I can't remember what it is.
okay.
I think it might just be one. I think it is just one. Um, and yeah, I knew they had that remaster
I
coming
didn't
out. Do you know
realize
when
they
that
had
is?
any Lunar on the GBA. That should
hmm
be beginning of next year. I think is when that Lunar remaster comes out.
Yeah,
So they've also got
that's
that
exciting. Game Arts is cool.
Suikoden remaster coming out too. That's another
hmm
like classic
hmm
PlayStation
Isn't it?
game. 1 and 2,
Isn't
yeah,
it 1 and 2? Yep,
yeah,
it's 1 and 2. There's like
yeah,
5 Suikoden games, so it'll be
yeah.
interesting to get those.
Those are the
People like
PS1 ones.
two.
Yeah, a lot of people like 2. Yep. So
hmm
I haven't got around
Yeah.
to Suikoden yet, so that might be the way I do it. I'm not quite sure yet, but um,
hmm
so yeah,
For sure.
a lot of like good JRPGs are getting
hmm
remakes and remasters. So that's
hmm
good to see. Because that's kind of like my wheelhouse is that sort of PS1 era of JRPGs. So, but another thing near and dear to my heart that I actually just learned today that they're coming out with, they're doing a sort of a updated port of the RPG Maker game off.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, this is a really important
I'm
game
not.
for me.
Yeah, I'm not familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty dang niche. Very surprised that this is coming to Switch, but
Hmm.
they've even got like a full like collector's edition that I'll probably be grabbing. That's got like a bobblehead of the main character. It's got like some cool artwork and art books to it. So yeah, it's a really one of those like art games like before like games were really like doing this sort of like strange and different art styles. Off was definitely doing like this sort of like a monochrome with like a bit of like
Mhm.
color in the background back in like They were doing that back in 2008. So
Okay. So does it kind of look like a Game Boy game a little bit,
yeah,
or
yeah, you
no?
could say that.
Okay.
It's an RPG Maker game, so it's a a little
Okay.
bit pixelated and stuff like that. But
Kind of that vibe though. Okay.
yeah, it's it's a fantastic game that I will definitely be
Off.
dropping
Off.
everything to play when that releases next year. Because they're going to be adding some new areas and bosses to the game by the
Mm,
designed by the game's original creator. So
cool. I love when games do
Mortis
that.
Ghost. So
Mm.
yeah, I'm just stoked for this game. I really hope that it is a good port. So
Yeah, the beginning of the year is really shaping up. There's a lot of interesting stuff beginning of the
yeah, I
year.
don't know if this is
Um,
beginning of the year or not, but it'll definitely come out sometime next year. So
Next year in general is just going to
yeah,
be stacked anyway.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Yeah.
about all I had. But I just wanted to
Sure.
talk about those
That's a
things.
lot.
Yeah,
That's a lot of interesting stuff. Next year is really exciting to me, man. Like
yeah,
really exciting. One of those things that I think is going to be awesome is that Pirate Yakuza game looks so fun. Um,
yeah,
I'm a huge Yakuza fan, so
yeah,
yeah, interesting to see how that plays. I want to finish the regular series so I can get into Like a Dragon ones because I hear Infinite Wealth is just amazing. They have like
yeah.
a straight up Animal Crossing mini game in it.
Really,
So
wow.
yes, yes, and they have basically it's kind of like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth where the game is kind of defined by its mini games,
Yep.
and they have a Animal Crossing portion and they have a Pokemon collecting portion called Sujimon where
Yeah, I've
you
heard of
are
this.
collecting. Yes, you are collecting perverts. Which is hilarious. So I have to see that. Have to see that. And one of my favorite game podcasts named it their game of the year. So I'm like, must be good. So
Yeah,
I love Yakuza. It's hilarious. Such a funny series.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, they just they don't miss with those Yakuza games. Yakuza
they
fans
really
are
don't.
never disappointed, and they get like so much content too. Like they're always pumping out
They're just
content for Yakuza fans.
they just they're just judicious with their asset creation,
Yeah.
man. Like that's
The,
really what it
they
is.
even had like speaking of judicious, they had that other series, Judgment.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a wild one. They basically stopped making them at least for a while
Mm-hmm.
because the main character is played by a very famous actor in Japan, and they were worried for the PC versions of those games because they wanted them to come to PC, that they were worried about nude mods for the character.
Oh.
So they stopped production for them for a while, and they rescinded the likeness of the actor. His management was not happy
Hmm.
with the permissions they were allotting for releasing on PC,
Sure.
and kind of the shenanigans people were going to put up with it. And I
Yeah,
was like,
if
that's
it's
just a
on
weird situation
PC,
in general.
people will nude mod it. They've already done it with
That's
Marvel Rivals. They've done it with everything. So
uh-huh. Rule 34, man. That's
yeah,
literally what it is.
yeah,
And they were worried they were going to do that with their their client. Um,
yeah.
and there's another scandal involving one of the main actors in that game. I forget. I think it's Pierre something or other. Pierre, Japanese name, first name French, which is interesting. Um, he was a very prominent character in the game of the original Judgment. There are two games: it's Judgment, Lost Judgment, and some DLC here and there. But for the original, he was supposed to be like a very major villain character. And he got recast because the main guy got busted for cocaine use in Japan, which is a huge deal and it's
Yeah.
extremely shameful. And it basically torpedoed his career because of it.
Wow.
So there's a couple interesting things to do with that game specifically in terms of likeness and celebrity, recreation, and licensing and that sort of thing. So they've kind of moved away from those. That was kind of like an an offshoot thing, using some Yakuza assets because it takes place in like Kamurocho a little bit, the main setting for Yakuza and some other like Tokyo, some other settings. So they basically use those to make new games, right? Um, and you even rub elbows with some Yakuza characters from original Yakuza, so it shares the same world, which is really, really, really interesting. Um, but this is a Game Award things too. I showed you a clip of this, or at least a poster. They are making a straight up brand new game called Project Century, which looks Amazing. Did you see a trailer for this thing?
No, I don't think I have.
Oh wow. It's basically like turn of the century Japan where it's like industrialist and um you're basically this guy in I think it's just like either I think it's early or no, sorry, late period 1800s Japan, where
So like
industry is taken over.
maybe it's like the Meiji Restoration era or something like that.
I think they said it is. I think
Okay,
they said it is that, if
that sounds
not
right.
something around then. But it's like almost the 1900s, not quite. And you're this guy kind of, you know, doing Yakuza stuff, I guess, in the old country, which is really cool. That trailer is
Yeah,
sick. You should look at that. It's like more of a teaser than anything, but
I knew
as a
they had like
vibes
that
boost, I'm like, this is
Yakuza
great.
game that is set sort of like in that older period.
That's what that was. I think it's going to be very Yakuza Mafia coded for sure.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it looks so cool though.
What was
The
that? What
still
was
they
that
do.
like a dragon game that they put out recently? That was kind of
Uh, Infinite Wealth, is that what you're talking about?
no. It was a remaster of an older one that never made it to the
Oh,
states until
Like a
recently.
Dragon Ishin. Is that
Yeah,
what you're talking
Ishin.
about?
Yeah, Ishin. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm
yes,
pretty sure
that's a
that
good
one
game.
was like a
But that's kind of
remaster of one that only came out in Japan, and then they finally brought it over to
mhm.
the states with Ishin.
It's
So
really that one's weird specifically because they're sharing character models of basically it's like what if Kiryu and a bunch of the characters from Yakuza cosplayed as Japanese samurai and
yeah,
like acted out in a play. Like
yeah,
it's really weird.
okay,
It's almost like a alternate history sort of thing.
yeah,
It doesn't make much sense really why they
sure,
did that, and it's not as good of a game as the regular Yakuza games. People like those games for the world and Kamurocho and the stuff you do in it. Changing it to a different setting is it's kind of like whiplash for some people. But like you said, it's like a remaster of that. From all accounts, it's a good game, but it's not a great game. I own it. I own every Yakuza game. It's just one of those things about having time.
yeah,
I'm running out of time to play things that I want to play, but Yakuza is definitely on the mind. But yeah, Project Century looks cool. I don't like it when games are like Project this, Project that, but I think keeping Century would be cool. Just say like Century, whatever. Just call the game Century. That'd be cool.
yeah.
Century is a cool word to have in
You,
your game.
you don't
But
like
yeah,
Project Octopath and Project Triangle?
I remember when Project Octopath showed up, I was like, "You are not calling your game this." And then literally they showed it the next year, Octopath Traveler. I'm like, "What an idiot! I'm such a dummy." Of course they're gonna call that Square Enix. They have
Yeah.
a game called 358 Days Over Two.
Yes. Oh,
Like,
don't get me started on Kingdom Hearts. We both like
have you
Kingdom
played Kingdom
Hearts.
Hearts? Have you played Kingdom
Yes.
Hearts though?
Yes. Yes.
Two, two.
Yes. Yes. I went
Okay.
through the whole series except for the third one. That's the last one that I have to play.
Oh, you're a real fan. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
played like Work Life
I own like
Sleep
that.
and okay.
I own that 1+2, and
Yep.
I played through that
Okay.
whole thing. So
You're more of a fan than I am. I love Kingdom Hearts 1 specifically.
yeah,
Love
that
that game.
first game's great.
I just beat that again this year. I
Honestly, I
just
think I like that
literally beat
second
it.
one better, and I might even like Chain of Memories a bit better as well. I like
I hear the
Chain of
second one's
Memories a
like
lot.
the pinnacle.
Yeah, the second
Yeah,
one's
Chain of Memories.
fantastic. Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
say this too. I'm kind of plugging his thing, but Mike Minotti from Game Mess and Giant Bomb, he's also Games Beat. He's doing Final Mixmas tomorrow for Extra Life as the time of this recording, and he's going to do Birth by Sleep, which I'm
yeah,
going to be watching all day tomorrow, which is going to be
yeah,
great. Um, and he's going to put it up as an archive later too. But
yeah.
since it's
Actually,
Extra Life,
yeah. Oh, good.
sorry, continue. Go ahead. I'm done.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, 358 actually has like one of the best stories though in like that series. Like I was like Niagara Falls with
Uh,
358. That's a great story.
Axel, oh Axel, my lovely boy.
No,
Um,
they have like another character that like
yeah,
they
who
do
can
the
keep
tear
track, right?
jerkers, and so
Oh, gotcha. I have yet to get into the full Kingdom Hearts. I feel like I know enough about Kingdom Hearts to be dangerous. I'm like, I know what's going on, I think, but I haven't played two,
I
and I'm
love
like,
Kingdom Hearts.
do I know what's going on?
Great
Yeah,
series.
Chain of Memories is tough to play.
It's a fun
I
game.
couldn't
I
get it.
like it's like a action card battler, so I kind of like it.
Yeah, I couldn't get my head around how it played. I have to really sit down and figure it out. It's very odd and very unique. That
It's
game.
a port of a like the one on that like
Hmm.
PlayStation 3 and or maybe just PlayStation 4 and 5. I can't remember.
Well,
But
it's a
they
remake of the GBA game.
yeah, it's a remake of the GPA game. Yeah, it's wild. So they
Yeah.
just took that GBA game and made it 3D. So I've
Mhm,
played the GBA version as well. It's pretty good. But,
Oh, you play both. Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, honestly, with Project Century, Witcher 4, Okami, like Game Awards was just completely packed. Like completely packed. So much cool, interesting stuff, and that kind of caps it off. I can't think of any. What else came in the what was announced in the show? Turok came out. Like they were talking about a new Turok
Oh
from Saber.
yeah, Turok. That's a don't let your kids play Turok.
Yeah, they say the
Nintendo,
F word.
yeah. Well, they Nintendo puts it in their mature, into 64
Yes,
games. Yeah,
watch out.
don't let your
People
kids
are kind
play
of.
Turok. All right.
Please don't. You don't know what you're doing. Um, the thing that's funny, people were kind of grousing about that the new Turok by Saber is not going to be first person, and I'm like, you know what? You're not going to get a Turok anyway, so shut up and take what you're given. All right?
Yeah.
They haven't made a Turok since 2008. Like,
No.
come on, just take. They remastered them, whatever. You weren't going to get one.
Are there that
Just
many Turok
be
fans
happy.
out there? Like, do people really like
No,
Turok? Yeah, like there's like
no, they
3 people
don't.
maybe that like Turok. Like I don't know anything about
No, they
Turok.
don't.
I'm just crapping on them
I
because I
think
can, but
didn't 3D Realms make them? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm gonna. I don't
yeah,
want to talk out of my
a
rear
lot of
end.
a lot of people like that. Like it's a childhood classic for a lot of people, but
It's just. It's not that serious, man. Like it's just
yeah,
not. People are like, "Oh my god, there has to be dinosaurs and it has to be first person." I'm like,
just
"You're getting
be
the
happy you're
dinosaurs. Who
getting
cares? Who
dinosaurs or
cares?"
whatever. Yeah, like
I
us
think,
Ape Escape
yeah, I think
fans, we what do we get? Like advertisement and Astrobot? Like no, it's not that deep, man. It's not that deep.
it's the whole pool meme where Turok fans are drowning and you see the skeleton at the bottom of the pool and it's you
Ape
guys.
Escape fans, yeah.
Ape Escape fans, yeah. You're just like, man, wish we could have a game. Yeah, no
Hey,
fun. That's too funny.
at least I'm getting Radapon next year. That's like
At least, yeah,
it's probably gonna be my game of
yeah,
the year. I can't think of anything else that could be my game of the year if that game like hits. Like,
yeah.
man, that's the game I'm most hyped for
Bon, bon.
easily. Oh,
Yeah, I
that
love that
music,
theme
that
song. Bon,
soundtrack.
bon, bada,
It's
bon.
just
It's the
so much
best.
fun. Like you just you gotta play well though, because you don't want
You
to
do.
lose your beautiful Patapon chance.
You
Like
don't. You don't.
you don't
Bada,
want to disappoint
bada,
your little
bada,
guys
bon.
either. Don't want to disappoint
No,
them.
man, that makes me just want to sing Patapon songs.
They're so
Um,
good. They're so good.
they are good. They are good. Um, I guess some odds and ends. You got anything you kind of want to talk about at length besides all the Game Awards, all the new games, any other stuff you kind of been,
I mean,
knocking around?
I gave some dumps about a little bit of King of Hearts, a little bit of Fire Emblem. I
Yeah,
just kind of
we're just
talk
kind of
about
rambling.
stuff.
Yeah,
And
it's cool.
yeah, there's a lot of games that I'm passionate about
Yeah,
that I like. I
yeah. There's a lot. There's a lot of stuff.
oh, I checked out that Helldivers 2 new faction.
Oh, mm-hmm,
It
mm-hmm.
was interesting. I just played a little bit of it, played a couple missions, and I was like, yeah, okay, this is
Yeah.
cool. These Illithid guys, they're pretty fun
Illithid,
to go
right?
against.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'll ever go back to that game. It was fun when I played it, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like I mentioned last pod. I'm just not into the meta. I really don't care. It was fun and now it's not. So,
Yeah, I was just playing it with
um,
some friends, so we didn't really care about meta or
yeah,
anything. We
yeah,
just played whatever we wanted to play.
that's good. At least it's casual that way. That's good.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I have a couple things odds and ends. It's not really game related. I'm basically finalizing my top 10. That's kind of where I'm at. I think Persona 3 Reload is kind of slotted. It's going to slot into any manner of these sort of things. Um, I've been like playing a ton of games and finishing them, which is really. I feel like I'm on a streak I haven't been in a long time, and I think the podcast is helping with that, right?
Yeah, I need
Just to go
to.
like, oh, I need to finish something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a top 11 right now, but I think one is going to get cut. So for now, barring me finishing Prince of Persia and Persona 3, it goes like this: top, or we'll do bottom to top. The 11th game. Thank goodness you're here. I talked about that a little bit. Number 10, mouthwashing. 9, Little Kitty Big City. 8, Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. 7, Silent Hill 2. 6, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That has dropped. I have dropped a Rebirth kind of
Mm.
considerably. Is a little bit higher. Number 5, Tactical Breach Wizards. Number 4, Indiana Jones: The Great Circle. I'm going to move that up. It's probably going to be number 3, probably. Um, Hold on, my numbering's all off. Forget this. Okay, it's 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 not this number. Okay, my numbering's all off. Anyway, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games. So Indiana Jones is number 3 technically, but it's gonna be number 2. Balatro after that, and then Metaphor is my top game. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what my years looked like. I don't know where Prince of Persia is going to slot in necessarily. I want to have an order top 10, right? And that's
Yeah.
kind of, I want to solidify that by this next couple weeks. So once I finish those games, I am like really, really geared to talk about everything. Um, yeah, and I think there's some honorable mentions for games I just didn't finish that I just kind of put some time into and kind of put it away. Um, that I don't know if I'll ever come back to, but I just was like, yeah, I don't think this is like worth me finishing necessarily. Like I don't see like the end of this being like worth getting done in a kind of like context where I'm talking about it on the pod, going like this is something you should play. Like Dungeons of Hinterberg for Xbox, that's an okay game. I like it a fair bit. PS5 is kind of a wasteland for me right now. Like there's a lot I have put down. Penny's Big Breakaway, I just straight up quit. I will never come back to that game, I don't think. I really just ended up disliking it at the end. Star Wars Outlaws, I wonder if I even pick that up again this year. I probably won't because I have a lot of other stuff to play. I mentioned Helldivers 2, another game I just barely touched. It's barely touched for a live service game. It was like 15 hours, but
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't played as much as like even people I know. Black Myth Wukong, I did not really like that game at all. Played a couple hours of that.
Yeah.
Nine Souls, I will come back to this. I just don't have time for it right now. I was waxing poetic about it a couple pods ago
Mm-hmm.
with it being Sekiro. That's an awesome game. Do not sleep on Nine Souls if you're listening. Fantastic game. Crow Country, we'll come back to that as well. Just don't have time for it. It's like a Resident Evil like.
Yeah.
Um, Another Crab's Treasure. I just didn't like the way it controlled.
It,
It's very
it
from
seemed.
softy.
Yeah, and it seemed like it was just like trying to be that and just not
Yeah.
it
I
that at
just
all.
it's
Kind
been
of like
done
where.
better. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't. I have beef with Souls likes in general. So like
Me too, and I think that's
yeah,
why I'm coming at it at this angle. I'm like, I
it's
just don't like
hard
what
for
it's
me to
going
get
for.
into a Souls like that isn't Lies of P. So
Like it looks like it should be a platformer, but it ends up being a Souls-like, and you're just like, this just doesn't seem
yeah,
like the genre for this flavoring. And then lastly, Stellar Blade. It feels like a Gooner game. I don't know. I'll get to it at some point. It's just
yeah,
not for me. I don't think right now. But those are the games I like really touched. The 3 games that I don't know if I'll finish this year. That's kind of going to break my heart. Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. I don't think I'm going to get through that, which is a real bummer because that game is awesome. And then the other 2 are long games that I just straight up just don't have any time for. Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D, that might be a January thing for me. And then Unicorn Overlord, that's the one I really want to play. I just don't have time,
yeah. I need to
you
play
know.
that one as well. I think I'd like
hmm
that one.
I think you'd really like that. But that's basically like my whole year. Like that is
Yeah,
everything I've like really other besides the PC stuff, which is Tactical Breach Wizards. I finished Arctic Eggs and Mouthwashing, Touch Mini Shoot Adventures, and then Home Safely Hotline, which I talked about on last week's podcast. So
yeah,
on the whole, I've kept track of pretty much everything. Oh, and Hellblade 2, I'm playing, but I don't know if we'll finish it because of the stuff I mentioned last pod too. I just not feeling it. So, and then I just straight up have not touched Mario and Luigi Brothership because I heard it's not great. So I just
yeah. I've heard
that's
it's
yeah,
like
I heard that one's kind of a bummer.
okay, but
Yeah, as
I've
compared to like the
never.
other RPGs, yeah,
Yeah,
no.
I've never been a big Mario and Luigi fan in general. Like I tried to get into
Mm.
that first GBA one, I just couldn't get into it. I got like
I
halfway
like
through it
Superstar
and dropped
Saga.
it.
That's a good game. Yeah, that's a good game. I like that
Yeah,
game. Okay.
I couldn't get into it, but I really like those Paper
hmm
Mario games, so it's just like
Yes. Yeah.
hard for
Yeah.
me to
For
get
sure.
into that one. So, but
hmm But yeah, that's just for my odds and ends. Ordered my list for the year. I'm kind of finishing my last 2. Once I get done with those, I'll really have like I'm ready. You know, I have finished the most games I think I ever have in a given year. Like for new stuff, I've played so many new games. It's been a great year for games,
yeah,
and yeah, really happy with the stuff I've played. I think I'll probably put down Mario RPG too. I don't think I'm gonna. I don't think I'm filling it out. Um, but yeah. that's basically it for me on the games front. I don't really have any other games to talk about. Um, I don't know anything for you before we transition into our topic, seasonal topic.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about a few games that I
Yeah, just dabbling. Yeah.
played this year that I remember. I guess technically, Pal World did come out this year. That was a pretty
Uh-huh.
good game. I enjoyed what I
True.
played of that a lot. I don't usually
Yeah.
like that type of sandboxy sort of game, but I enjoyed Pal World. What I played of it.
Hmm.
Put a
You don't
good.
like Pokemon with FALs? Just
Yeah, I mean,
straight up
I
automatic
I put
cheatiness?
55 hours into it, so I enjoyed it pretty
Oh,
well.
fair amount. Yeah.
But and let's see here. Oh, they had that Toho rhythm game that came out this year. I
Yeah,
like that
Toho.
quite a bit.
Hmm.
Um,
I started Luna Nights, by the way. That's a good game.
oh
I like
yeah,
that game.
yeah, that's a good game. I
Hmm.
love Luna
Yeah,
Nights.
very
But
good game. Good recommendation.
yeah. Um, let's see, what else did I play from this year? Was Sonic Frontiers? They had that. No, I don't think anything came out with that this year.
Sonic Shadow came out this year.
Yeah,
That's what
Sonic
I know.
Shadow came out this year. That Shadow um, expansion
Yeah.
was fantastic. I loved that. I did play that
So-
Sonic Frontiers Final Horizon this year, and I loved that too. But
yeah. Did Keanu Reeves stuff drop or no?
yes, I believe so. I need to go back and play that.
Is that just a costume or what? Is that an
No,
actual thing
it's
you're doing?
it's
or-
a level. It's a level,
A level,
and
okay.
you can actually and Keanu Reeves is like voice acting for the level. So
Interesting.
um,
Interesting. We'll have to
it's a
both
whole
play that after Sonic 3.
self-contained
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Um,
Interesting.
let's see here. Yeah, I had.
Yeah. Well, after Sonic 3, I'll probably break into that, going like, "Oh yeah, I watched the movie. Why not?" Yeah, that'll be
Oh
cool.
yeah, I played this sometimes I'll get a wild hair and I'll just play something off of the Steam front page that's a new
Oh sure.
game, and so I played this game, Plushie from the Sky. It was
Hmm.
it was a Souls like, and it was not very heavy in in the combat. I remember me, I'm always doing weird stuff with my builds, and so I put all of my stats into speed, and so I was just running laps around the bosses and
Nice.
but I was hitting
Nice.
a wet noodle, so I was having to hit them multiple times to take
Soul
them
level
down.
1, but you go real fast.
Yeah, yeah,
You're just like, let me hit you with
yeah,
this. Yeah.
yeah. So
That's funny.
I actually ended up liking that experience quite a bit. It took me 3 hours to play through. It was just an evening thing, but I remember
Plushie
enjoying
from the
it.
sky. Plushie
Yeah,
from the sky. I think
yep.
that's what you said. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
It was in the ending, wrapping up the story that they have for this thing is actually it was really not what I was expecting. That is for certain. So it'll get
Yeah,
you
for
with
sure.
the ending. It's a weird game, weird story. It's worth it for a 3 hour game. I think I had a good time with it. So but yeah, I played that Rainbow Cotton remake. Put
Rainbow
about
Cotton,
2 hours into that this year. I need to go back to that and try and beat that game. It's one of those games where if you game over, you got to go back to the beginning. So, but I enjoyed what I played of that for sure. That was a great rail shooter.
Right.
So
Cool.
yeah, they had that Ghost of Tsushima PC port. I played through quite a bit of
Oh,
that.
you did?
Yeah.
That's a great game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very fun game.
I'd already beaten it on PS4 back when it released on there,
Oh,
but
Sure.
they
Yeah.
I was just playing it again because I really love that game. So it's one of those open world games that I really like. But
Yeah, I like that game. I don't like the characterization of the main character. I just don't think he's interesting. That's my main problem with it. The game itself is fantastic, but I just don't
Yeah.
like Jin. I think he's not fun at all.
I like Jin,
As a character.
but, that's a difference of
He's
opinion.
just so one note. He's just one note for me. Everyone else is fantastic around him. I don't like Jin.
Yeah.
He's cool, but that's about it. He's very stoic. And then
Yeah,
I think with Ghost of Yotei, it'll be different. So
yeah, I think Jin is he's hard to understand as a character. It's
Yeah.
because he's he keeps things, and I think they're really trying to play into that cultural thing of like, keeping your inner feelings
Yeah.
in yourself, but for
Stoicism, yeah.
yeah, for someone that is maybe used to more like bombastic characters that are very open about their thoughts and feelings, maybe he won't hit as well with that sort of audience. But
Yeah, maybe it's a Western way of thinking. I don't
yeah,
know. It was made by a Seattle-based team,
right,
so
right. But they
which is
based it
interesting.
off
But
of those
yeah, right.
Kurosawa sort of samurai films, and so they even
Hmm.
have a
Because of that.
Kurosawa mode in there. I own quite a few Kurosawa films on VHS. I love Kurosawa, so
Great director. Yeah.
um,
Ikiru is one of the best movies ever made.
yeah.
Ikiru is great.
Um, but yeah, I played that Clowns from Outer Space. I put about hour and a half
Did
into
you?
that. It
Nice.
was interesting, but
Yeah.
yeah, I probably should have refunded it. It just there
You
wasn't
got past
enough
your time, yeah.
there. Yeah, there wasn't. I'm not past the time technically, but I don't know if they'd let me refund
Oh,
it or not. But I only put
I
an
wonder.
hour and a half
Yeah.
in there, so but yeah,
Hmm.
it just didn't have enough substance to like stick as like that sort of um, asymmetric sort of game. But
Hmm.
it was interesting for what it was.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Let's see here. Um,
Yeah, fair amount of stuff. That's a lot for sure. Um,
yeah. Um, so yeah.
I from what it's telling me for me, like it just shows me I've spent too much on games this year. That's why I played everything new. So
Yeah, that's fair. But I mean and I got around to a lot of yeah, I just sort of played stuff that was interesting to me, just kind of picked and choose. Like
yeah.
I read through that technically not a game, but I read through that Fate Stay Night remaster that came out this year, and that
Hmm.
was just incredible stuff. I absolutely love that story of Fate Stay Night. I gushed a little bit about it on that visual novel podcast, but
Yeah, yeah, it was great.
highly recommend that story for
Hmm.
sure.
I need to get to that. I like hearing about it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's that about does it for me. For
Yeah,
like
yeah. Okay,
new
cool.
games
Yeah,
that I played this year. So
yeah. Metaphor you'll be tackling pretty
yep,
soon.
yep,
Probably after the holiday or during it. I'm not sure when you're going to do it.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but that's the one I'm looking forward to the most for our
yeah.
conversation.
I wanna get
Um,
through Metaphor for sure.
yeah.
That game looks fantastic. So I want to
Hmm.
get through Indie
Yeah, I
as well.
guess.
Indie looks pretty fantastic as well. So
Yeah, if you even touch those games and we could talk about them,
yeah,
that'd be great. Um, I mean, you don't have to make like an ordered list like me. That's just what I'm doing because I
sure.
like keeping track of my stuff. Um, but yeah, that's kind of my odds and ends. Is just that. Since it is the week before Christmas, we're gonna hang out on Christmas Eve, watch Sonic 3, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But I wanted to have the big topic this week to be about Christmas movies. We're gonna rank them. All right. I don't know if we want to be top 10 or top 5. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I could come up with a top 10. I might be able to come up with a top
Maybe
5.
5. Let's do 5. Let's do 5.
Yeah,
Yeah. And we're
I
gonna
have ones
really
that I
battle it
like.
out.
So okay.
Yeah, we're gonna really battle it out. Okay. So I think let's just do the 5 that come to our head. You go first. Like the ones that are like with a bullet. These are the ones. Like, what
Okay,
are your
okay,
5?
okay.
This should be easy, right?
Yeah, so we're gonna go. Let's go with this. Let's go with. This will be fun. Polar Express.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Grandma got ran over by a reindeer.
Oh boy. You're swerving on me. I'm not gonna lie.
All right, all right. Let's dial it back in. Miracle on 34th Street.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Very good one. All right. You got me back.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Okay. All right. I'm all the way back.
Scrooged.
Okay, that's
Bill
4.
Murray Scrooged.
No Christmas Vacation?
Oh, okay, okay. Let's do this
No,
again.
no,
Let's
it's
do
your
this
list.
again.
I'm just
No,
you picked 4,
I
right?
forgot. I
Christmas
forgot.
Vacation.
No, I said 5, but
Oh, did you? Okay.
yeah.
So it was what?
Polar
It was
Express.
Miracle
Let's
on
just
34th
let's
Street,
just do
Polar
this. Let's just
Express.
do this. Let's just do this. Let's start
Okay.
over. Let's start over. Let me start over. Okay,
No,
so
fair. Go ahead. I'll shut up.
because yeah, I'm doing this on the spot, so
No, I
we'll
understand.
say yeah, we'll say Polar Express. We'll
Huh?
say Miracle on 34th Street. We'll say
Uh
um, It's a Wonderful Life.
huh. Uh huh.
We'll say
Yeah, I like this.
Christmas Vacation, and
Uh
then
huh.
we'll say Scrooged. There we go. Top five.
That's a good list. That's a good list. Okay. You know what? Okay. You know what would be stronger? We could do a top five. That's your top five, right? Let's make a top three combined with yours and mine. Let's do
Okay,
that.
okay, okay.
Because we can easily rank three because
Yeah,
we're probably gonna have three like in that list,
yeah.
right? I think It's Your Wonderful Life is number one. Okay. That's what
Okay.
I'm feeling. That is number one. I think Christmas Vacation is number two. That's that's how
Have
I'm
you
feeling. I
let
don't
me
know.
ask you, have you seen Bill Murray Scrooged?
I I have not. So that's where I'm
Okay,
operating from.
okay, okay, okay.
Okay. So let me just
I adore
top line
that
this real
movie.
quick.
I literally own the soundtrack of for that on vinyl. Like I absolutely
Oh
adore that
wow.
movie.
That's a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie. It's so funny. It cracks me up every time
Yeah.
I watch it. Probably even more so
Yeah.
than um, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. So
Gotcha. Okay, so mine are you're gonna hate me for this, I think. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Die Hard's in there, right?
oh
Uh,
gosh,
no,
you're not
listen,
putting that on the list though, are you?
I'm putting it on my list. This is my
Oh my
list. All right, this is my
gosh.
five.
Oh
This
my
is my
gosh.
five.
It's a
Die
Christmas
Hard
movie,
is a
fine, but that doesn't need to be a top five
yes.
Christmas movie. Come
It
on.
is though. But listen,
Oh
man,
my
it is though.
gosh. Oh my
It's also my
gosh.
favorite movie, probably, besides
Okay.
Mad Max Fury Road.
Okay.
It it's
It's a good
the
movie.
guy
Die
goes
Hard's a
like
good movie. I need to get
it's a
that PlayStation
great
1
movie.
game. That game's supposed to be a lot of fun.
Yes, Die Hard Arcade. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Die Hard is on the list for me. Okay, like I said, you're not gonna like it. You're wrong. That is a Christmas movie. It takes place during a
I never said
Christmas
it
party
wasn't a
on
Christmas movie.
Christmas
What
Eve.
I said is it doesn't need to be on a Christmas movie list. That's what
Okay,
I said.
fair, fair. This is gonna be controversial, maybe too. Home Alone 2. I love Home Alone 2.
You just like it because it has Donald Trump in it.
No, that's not true. Actually, you've never been more wrong. Actually, I will not be associated with this. Is everyone a Republican? No. I mean, let's move on. So, no, none of that. None of that. None of that. Okay. I love Home Alone 2. It's the same movie as Home Alone 1, basically. But I like the hotel scene a lot better with the Tommy gun. I love that scene so much. It is the funniest thing.
It's great.
Jakes, Bonnie and Bob, Cliff, it's
Little Mo with
alive.
the
It's the
gimpy
best.
leg.
Yes, it's the best. Okay, so it's that one, that one, that one. So what did I say? I said Die Hard. I said Home Alone 2. The third one, I'm just out of order right now. It's a Wonderful Life, 100%. That's there. Um, the Santa Claus 1 is probably up there. I think the Santa Claus 1, and then the Polar Express.
No
I think that's my
National
five.
Lampoons on your list. Wow.
I think the only reason is because I came to it late. I love that movie. I
Yeah.
do. I saw that movie in the last 5 years, though.
Yeah, I've
Just
been
because I
watching
was
that
never allowed
movie
to watch it
forever.
growing up.
Yeah.
I never grew up with it. So
Yeah.
I have some nostalgia, but it's nostalgia from the last few years. So those are my five. Die
Hmm.
Hard, I really forced on there. I gotta admit, it's not
Yeah.
the most Christmas movie of all time,
No,
but I
it's
love Die
really
Hard.
not. It's a good movie, but I don't know if it's a good Christmas movie, but it's like,
Okay. In the spirit of it, I will switch it because I think you're right. Die Hard, Christmas Vacation's on the list. We'll
cool.
just do that.
Cool.
All right. I'll
Cool.
acquiesce. So let's make a top three because I
Yeah.
can't get everything I want. I will, for people listening, Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Don't let this post-sore
I
tell you it's not.
I never nobody ever said it wasn't a Christmas movie on this
I
podcast. We've never
understand.
said that.
Don't let, listen, you live your life the way you want to live it, baby. That's what I'm saying. And Die Hard has Christmas lights wrapping on Christmas Eve with terrorists. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
I read Witch on the Holy Night recently. You know, the final moments of that kinetic novel take place during Christmas time. Clearly a Christmas
Hmm.
novel for anyone
Yeah.
looking for a last minute Christmas novel. You know, same concept there. So.
Oh, holy night. The stars are brightly
Yeah.
shining. Um, yeah, So that's my list. We're gonna put Christmas Vacation on there. I love that movie. Let's put a top 3 up. It's a Wonderful Life is either 1 or 2. Okay, like that is what I'm doing. Like if you are okay with that, I'm all right with that. 1 or 2. It cannot be 3.
Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life is 1 or 2.
No, I agree with that. Yeah.
I think
It's a beautiful message, and it's a wonderful
it's
life.
beautiful. Yeah. It's one of the best movies ever.
Yeah.
I think Christmas Vacation has to be 1. I think it has to be 1, right?
Really?
How do you feel about that? Do you think
I'm okay
Polar
with
Express
that.
would be 1?
No,
I don't
not
think Polar Express would be.
No.
No, I don't think so either.
I'd be okay with putting It's a Wonderful Life over Christmas Vacation.
I think if you let me put It's a Wonderful Life at 2, all right, I think Scrooged can be 3 because I'm okay with that.
Okay. What do we want?
Since you feel so I think 1 has to be Christmas Vacation.
Christmas Vacation. Okay, really I'm okay with this list. Yeah, I'm okay with this list.
Yeah, I think that's pretty definitive. Like, if you're gonna watch
this is the Christmas movie.
Any Christmas movie, it's Christmas Vacation, right? It is the perfect encapsulation of wild families during the holidays. It is stress at your job and how it affects your family life.
Yeah.
It is commercialism. It's nostalgia. It is the perfect Christmas movie. It is. I know I wasn't going to initially put it on my personal list because of Die Hard. I understand that. But this movie just straight up is like the best.
It is the best Christmas movie, yeah. And as for like the movie like that you think of when you think of like a traditional Christmas movie, that's going to be It's a Wonderful Life. Like even Christmas movies have the characters in the Christmas movies watching It's a Wonderful Life, and there's like the Zuzu's pedals and all that stuff in like
in Home Alone 2, like it's all in Spanish because they're in Miami.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
It's great.
It's so funny. I think that is a pretty definitive list, though, dude.
Yeah.
I really do. I think 1, 2, 3. That is like,
yeah.
Scrooge I will watch Scrooge this week.
It's a lot of fun. That's a fun romp. I love that movie.
Tell you this, I will watch Scrooge tomorrow. How about that?
Yeah.
I've never seen it. We'll do that. I will make a note of that.
It's a lot of
Scrooge
fun.
tomorrow.
Yep.
And if I come back and say you're right. Yeah. But I just think because.
I mean, Christmas Story is another definitive one that we probably should talk about a little bit. Man. I love Christmas Story.
Oh man, should that be? That is a really good one.
That could definitely flex for number 3, right? If we're locked
should
in
that
the
be
top
3? Hold it. Should that be 3, Noah? I think that should be.
I like Scrooged a lot, but I do like Christmas Story a lot too. That is another definitive, like.
Listen though, the writing in that movie, for Christmas Story is so evocative. It's so beautiful and so well performed. It carries the movie. The narration is incredible in that movie.
Yeah,
like adult Ralphie talking is the best part of that movie. You could listen to that without the movie, and it would be just as entertaining.
Yeah, it
is so good. I watched this last week, dude. It is so good.
Yeah,
man, that might be 3.
Nope, we already locked it into Scrooge. So, but you can come back.
Did we?
You can come back after watching Scrooge, and you can argue with me if.
But that doesn't make it invalid since I haven't seen it. Does it make it invalid? If this is our list, is this a loophole? I can get Christmas Story on the list?
Yeah, I don't know, man. You do what you want.
Oh. What if I added a 4th?
There you go.
Is this okay with you? Can we do a 4th?
I mean, I was locked into a top 5, but then you brought it to a top 3. So.
Oh, I did do that. Okay, will we agree on a top 5 though?
I don't know.
I don't know. You gotta give me more than that. I don't know.
Let's just go on from this. I think we got our Christmas cheer all aligned.
Scrooge being number 3 though over Christmas. Honorable mention.
Honorable mention. Yeah, I did. I honorably mentioned it. I did. You didn't mention it. I mentioned it.
It's just an honor to be nominated. Oh my god. I'm the worst. Why did I do a top 3 and not a 5?
Yeah?
Oh, because your personals were so different from mine. I was like, are we going to agree on 3? Turns out no, I haven't seen Scrooge, but it's fine. We agree on Lampoon, and that's
Yeah.
1.
And,
That's
and
1.
we agree
So
on It's a Wonderful
It's a
Life
Wonderful
too.
Life. Yeah,
It's
we
a
do
fantastic
definitely.
movie.
I just think the staying power of that movie is just so. It's just
It's
it has
evergreen.
to be
It's an
commended.
evergreen movie. Yeah.
It is like it's just good. It's good at any point in your life. It doesn't even
Yeah.
have to necessarily be seasonal,
Yeah.
But it is tradition. We watch that every Christmas Eve. We
Yeah.
watch It's a Wonderful Life every
Yeah.
Christmas Eve. So I have so many memories of just watching it with my family, like my full family, like grandparents, aunts, and
Yeah.
everybody sits down and watches it.
Yeah.
So that is an incredible movie.
Yeah.
Top 3. We'll go with the top 3. Thank you for Christmas Story. It's a pleasure to be nominated. Um, but yeah, that's the Christmas bangers. One, two,
Yeah.
three. We got number 1, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Number 2, It's a Wonderful Life. Do you care what version, black and white or color? Or is it just fine either way?
It's just fine either way. I mean, I technically like that black and white version better, but
I do too. There's something to it, man.
yeah.
There's just something to it. So that color looks weird, I think,
Yeah.
and it kind of has to because it was originally black and white,
Yeah.
so they tinted it right.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just something to that. It adds some dimension seeing the color. I do understand,
Mm-hmm.
but that black and white, man, there's just something to it. There's
Yeah.
just something to it. And then Scrooged, I I can't talk about it on this podcast, but on the next one I'll go like, yeah, good movie. So
You'll crack
that's your
up.
list.
You'll crack up at Scrooge. I love
Probably. I like
Scrooge.
Bill Murray.
Yeah.
I like Bill Murray. Um, while we're on the tip for watching stuff, I guess we'll kind of close it off with a couple things. I initially in this podcast note said I finished Secret Level. That is a lie. That did not happen today like I wanted it to. I had to go out and get dinner instead. But I intend to finish Secret Level now that all the episodes are out. But
Yeah.
I finished Blue Eye Samurai. Have you heard of this
Ooh.
show?
No, I haven't heard of it. I've watched it, and it's fantastic.
Oh, it's so
Yes.
good. Oh my
I
god.
can't wait for more of
It
that.
was,
Oh man.
I know.
Oh wow.
Oh,
It's wonderful, wonderful.
it's
Very subversive, very just keeps you on
mhm,
your toes. Like you never know what's gonna
very
happen
adult.
next in that show. Yeah, very adult, very mature show. Don't let your kids
I
watch it,
love.
but
No, please don't. It is
it
very, very mature.
yeah, but it has a lot to say, and it's really a great show. I'm surprised that
Yeah,
I was surprised that this showed up on your list. To be honest, I'm like, oh yeah, I know that show. That's a great show. So,
yeah. I have been trying to watch it off and on
hmm
for a couple years, and I hadn't gotten to it,
yeah,
and I kept coming back to George R. Martin talking about it, going like, it's a good show. I'm like, well, if he likes it, I'd like it, and I watched it. I'm like, this show is just
yeah,
amazing. It
it's
feels like
really good. Yeah,
I don't know. It feels like a new, fresh take on the samurai genre,
yeah.
I guess. Like the story they're telling is so interesting, man.
To
Like
me,
it's
it
stuff that
always reminds
really
me
is
of like
happening.
it reminds me of a very mature Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's what it kind of reminds me of.
Sure. Sure, yeah, I can see that for
Yeah,
sure. It reminds me of Shogun, obviously.
yeah.
Um, but it also reminds me of like
Shogun was
Mulan a little
fantastic.
bit.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Mulan and Pocahontas a
Okay.
lot. Reminds me of Pocahontas a ton, like the Disney one, where
hmm
there's white men invading the land, right?
Yeah.
It feels like that. Um, not to spoil the show, like it's literally the Blue Eye Samurai, where it's this person, Mizu, right? Mizu, I think it's her
Yeah.
name, Mizu. She is a
Well,
half
you
Irish
just
or
spoiled like
Scottish.
half the show, but
Well, no. The beginning is like they literally jump into it with her being half breed.
well,
Um,
yeah, but
like the
you
first
don't know if
episode.
it's you don't know their gender until like halfway through the show
Well,
or so.
I don't even know really what it is. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just basically like they are multicultural. Basically,
Yeah.
it's more than their persona. Like
Yeah.
the show is a lot more than that story wise. I get why you'd say that for sure. But having just watched it, the most interesting parts are how she tackles with or their identity. As it's not clear. Like their identity,
hmm
they have that trouble tackling it, and other people responding to them, kind of cloaking their identity here and there. It's a fascinating watch. It's just really well made,
Yeah,
extremely well made. I
it's a
think the
fantastic
animation
show.
is just it's some of the best animation I've ever seen, like
Yeah,
in anything. It's just it's like artistic and paintbrush kind of aesthetic. Um, Beautiful, beautiful colors. I think some of the shots in this are just so well presented. Like there's a couple fight scenes where they're just like the choreography and the camera work is just out of this world. Specifically when she has a fight with like a bunch of people surrounding her and she's got like this long glaive. I don't know if
yeah,
you remember that fight. It is
yep.
just oh my god. The choreography alone is just outstanding, outstanding. Um, Genuinely, I might have spoiled a couple things. I don't know, but I think it's just worth a watch anyway.
Yeah.
So the table setting, if I spoiled that, I apologize. But if you're going to watch anything on Netflix, the two things I would recommend, three things technically, it would be Arcane,
Yeah,
it would be this,
yeah,
and then probably Cyberpunk Edge Runners, like those
yeah,
three.
yeah. Those are
If you can watch those three, like you are
peak
set.
Netflix.
Peak.
Yeah,
It's some of the best shows you can watch,
yeah,
but specifically on Netflix, like they cooked with those shows. They're
yeah,
so good. Um, I don't know if I like this. I don't even comparing it. I don't feel great about that. But since I've watched them side to side, Arcane or that, it's like it's there. You know, like I every day it's like, is this better? Is this better? I don't know. They're
yeah,
both just masterpieces. So
yeah, for sure.
how can you grade art, right?
Yeah,
One of those
and
things.
that's not really something we do here on Stick Drift. Like
We try not to.
we don't really
Yeah.
grade art. Like art is art, and we try and prop up art that we find is interesting.
Mhm.
But like
Yeah.
I
When I
don't.
rank my games, I'm not thinking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just thinking like personal connection. You're not thinking like
Yes.
which art is better objectively,
What
because
clicked
art
the
isn't
most?
objective.
Yeah.
Art is subjective. Like I think that
Hmm.
Bubsy 3D is good art, and you don't want to go anywhere near Bubsy 3D. So
I don't want to yuck your yum, so I'm not going to expound on my feelings of Bubsy 3D. I will say I have played Bubsy 3D, and I have choice thoughts about that game. And so does Sony Bend. So, and they made the game. So,
Bubsy 3D, my beloved.
yeah. Blue Eye Samurai, that's basically all I watch. And then we're just finishing up some Christmas movies. We got a couple more we're gonna hit. We're gonna watch It's a Wonderful Life on Christmas Eve. I'll watch Scrooge tomorrow. I promise I will. But other than that, that's all I got. What else have you been watching?
Yeah, I mean, I've just been watching a lot of seasonal anime that's finishing up airing for the this season. I think we're going into the winter season for anime.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, Dan to Dan finished airing. Left off
I
on a
did
pretty
finish.
big
Okay.
cliffhanger, so brace yourself for that.
Ooh, okay. Fun.
And let's see. Bleach is still airing. I think they've got a couple more for this
Mhm.
arc of the 1,000-year Blood Wars. So enjoying that.
Yeah.
Orb. I think I talked a little bit about Orb on the
Yeah, that's cool.
podcast.
That's
Yeah,
cool. I need to check that out.
That's finishing up, I think. But
Cool. I
it's
had
an
to check that out.
incredible piece of art for sure. Kind of goes over that sort of heliocentric idea of how that came together, like the amounts of people that it would have taken to come to that theory because of all the persecution that science had during that time.
Yeah.
So it's a lot.
Super cool
Yeah,
concept.
it's a really interesting show. I think it's the same like mangaka and the same studio that did the Vinland Saga. So
So is it Wit?
yeah, I think
Did
so.
Wit do
I
it?
think
Okay, it's Wit. Interesting. Gotcha.
yeah, but
So it's Makoto. What's her name? Oh, what's that mangaka's name? She did Vinland Saga.
yeah, hang on.
Gosh, I'm blanking.
It's Madhouse.
Makoto something or other.
Madhouse was the
Oh, Madhouse did it. Oh,
yeah,
really?
Madhouse.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like Madhouse. Madhouse is
Yeah.
great. I don't think Madhouse has made anything bad.
No, I don't think so.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah, Wit Studio
also-
did the first season of
That's what I was thinking.
Vinland
Okay,
Saga,
okay.
and then Mappa did the second season.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Man, Mappa's being spread thin these days. My goodness. Yeah. Speaking of Mappa, Jujutsu Kaisen, they just released some of the promo art for the Culling game, which is cool.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I've been watching more Mushishi. Yeah, that's what I've been watching. I heard that's
Oh,
really good.
okay. Yeah, I've heard
Yeah,
of that
Mushishi is
one.
one
I
of the
never got around to
slower
it.
psychological.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like a slower burn, sort
Is
of
it good?
detective noir. It's very good. Yeah, it's very, very good.
Hey,
I only watched the first episode,
do
but
you know?
yeah.
Have you heard of Monster?
Yes, I know.
Okay,
I need to
okay.
watch this.
Monster is the
It's
detective
incredible, man.
anime like
Yeah,
ever. Like that is the
I hear it's
one.
so good.
Yeah,
Isn't it Urasawa? Urasawa did this, right?
I don't remember the creator of it.
I think it's the one of the Astro Boy creators did Monster. Um, yeah, Monster is all on Netflix as well too. It's like 75, 6 episodes. Um, yeah, it looks really good. I hear the villain in it is like top villain of all time. Um, yeah, it's definitely a bucket list for me. It's just one of those things I need to just sit down
Yeah.
and finish.
Okay, I don't think
Um,
Orb is related to Vinland Saga at all, but it definitely feels like it's related to it. Like it looks and like plays out a lot like Vinland Saga. It's that same like sort of like medieval time period. So
yeah, yeah, it is. Okay, Monster is written and illustrated by Naoki Urasawa, who did
yeah,
Astro Boy, um,
yeah, it's an
with
absolutely
Osamu Tezuka.
fantastic series. Like
Yeah,
that. When I think of detective anime, I'm like, oh, Monster.
yeah. He did well. I should say he didn't do Astro Boy. He did Pluto, which is also really good. I have
Yeah,
old Pluto here on my shelf.
yeah. I
Um,
they've got that on Netflix, I believe. I need to get around to
that
watching
adaptation is
Pluto.
absolutely incredible, dude. It
Yeah,
is one of the best adaptations I've ever seen for
yeah,
anything. It is literally shot for shot.
yeah.
It's
I
incredible,
need to get
especially
around to
that
that.
those first three episodes and the last one is just the whole show is perfect. Like they take each episode by volume. There's like eight
Yeah,
volumes, 8 episodes, and it's just so good.
yeah.
They
So
take their time, man.
sounds like Pluto fans are eating good, not so much for Junji Ito fans, but
That's
I
unfortunate,
still need
man.
to finish that Uzumaki anime just to finish
I
it.
will
But
not. I will not. That first episode is so killer, dude.
yeah,
So good. And then they just, I don't know why they handed it off. It's such a bummer, man. That
yeah,
first, oh, that first episode's an all timer, man. Like it really is. I
yeah.
was shocked how well that was produced. Like, why would they shortcut like that? I just don't understand. Like, if they know it's going to suffer because of it, well, I don't know why they would.
Yeah,
Greed, I guess. I don't know. But now it's just going to be like a footnote after an amazing debut, right?
yeah.
Um,
The other like detective anime that really like sticks out for me is Psychopaths. I love Psychopaths.
I love Psychopaths too. I have not finished Psychopaths, but I've seen most of the
Yeah,
first season.
that like
Excellent.
concept of just like having AI,
Yes.
like that's an evergreen
Mm-hmm.
concept, especially now having AI like
Yeah.
determine if people will become criminals or not. Like that's like
Very prevalent.
crap that governments want to do today. Like
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
that's like a telltale like, hey, this is why you shouldn't do this. Why people should tell if people are bad or not, not computers,
Mm-hmm.
because they get that wrong. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Reminds me of RoboCop whenever what is it? The robot kind of goes on the fritz and shoots a guy in a conference room. It's like that.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, that dude, Psychopaths, so good. I need to finish that.
yeah. It's a great series.
I
Great,
have so
great
many things I need
series.
to finish. I also watched Death Parade. Death Parade's really good. I hadn't seen all of Death Parade.
Okay.
Um, I'm like 3 episodes. Have you heard of Death Parade?
Yeah, I've heard of Death Parade. I haven't gotten around to it yet.
It's really cool. It's short. I'm only
Hmm.
4 episodes in. But it's basically like the afterlife sort of thing. There's a bartender, and they're trying to weigh people's fate,
Yeah.
to either go up or down. So,
Yeah, I like
um,
this art style. It reminds me of um, one that I really like, Kakegurui. It's like the
oh sure,
gambling school
yeah,
one. Yeah, I really like that one.
yeah. It
So
looks like It looks like Taite Kubo's art from Bleach a little bit.
Yeah,
The Death Braid
definitely.
stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's a manga actually. It might just be anime.
straight to
I don't
anime.
know.
Yeah, that sounds right.
It
But
might be, and maybe it was adapted after the fact. Yeah, it
yeah,
looks like it's just an animation. Um, but yeah, it's basically they host games for recently deceased people that determines their fate. It's really cool, really good anime. My wife even likes it, which she's very selective about what anime she consumes.
yeah. There's
But
there's quite a few of those like game sort of animes that are like the sort of Squid Game
like
concept. So
Tamagotchi game,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that sort of
I was
thing.
gonna mention that one. I really liked that one. So
Okay, I heard that's good. Yeah,
yeah, that one was good.
is Dead Man Wonderland one of those, or is it not? Am I
No, I
bugging
don't.
about that? Okay, I don't know. I have never seen it. I
It's been
just
a
there
long
was
time
one.
since I watched it, but I don't remember that being one like that.
Okay, there was a
I
still I
remember
saw
liking
that
it.
looked very Squid Game. I don't know.
It's
Um,
definitely not gonna. I don't think it's gonna get another season, and it left off on kind of a
yeah.
cliffhanger, if I remember. So, but
Oh, it
I
always bugs me.
yeah, I liked it. Yeah, I know. That's like kind of like the very first anime I ever watched. Kaze no Stigma left off on a cliffhanger, but for good reason. I mean, the creator of it passed away, so
Oh, bummer.
yeah. So I yeah
I wonder. Yeah, yeah, that's really sad. It sucks with all these long running manga when their mangaka just leaves it unfinished. It's just such
yeah.
a bummer. Like the number one is the Kentaro Miura stuff. Like,
Hmm.
I wonder if they actually finish Berserk in a way that makes sense. I wonder if they do that.
I remember him hearing about him like passing his but it
Hmm.
like his notes to his best friend, and like he had most of
Yes,
it planned out from what I understand. So
right. It's one of those things like planning it and then having other people s- see it
yeah,
through.
that kind of happened with
It's a
Ruby as well. Like Ruby kind of went
sure.
downhill after Monty passed away. So
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of a bummer that that had to be the case. I'm kind of worried that Hunter x Hunter is going to get that way
mm,
because of the Sailor Moon stuff. The mangaka being taught all the tools of the trade for that.
yeah,
You know, it's just really sad. These guys just make this weekly shonen manga and they just kind of get old
yeah,
and they don't ever know how to finish it because they've thrown all the spaghetti on the floor and now they got to connect them all. You know.
yeah,
Um, like I think the one that's really going to tie up nicely is unless Bar. I think he's healthy right now. Is well, maybe he's not actually. I might have heard something that he's not Oda, um, for One Piece. I wonder if he
mm,
finishes his main story. Like
sure,
he said, it's almost done. Like whatever that means. I don't know. Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? They're going to start talking about what the One Piece is here really soon. Is what I hear.
wow,
So
yeah,
yeah, after the whole Egg Island arc they're on, they're going to start on the main like downslope of One Piece finally, which is insane. And I don't know how many arcs that'll be, but it's going to be crazy. And I know you haven't seen that much One Piece, but I'm like 70, 80 episodes in. It's really good. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah, there's a reason it's the number one for sure. There's a reason One Piece is number one. There's just too much of it. I wonder how that remake's going to be. I wonder how they're going to shave that down because there's a
yeah,
lot of story that they kind of need to tell. Same for the Netflix show. I wonder how they adapt that. You know,
yeah.
yeah, it's really interesting. I'm not sure how they're going to handle it, but yeah. Any other stuff you got for watching?
No, I've just been watching, rewatching Code Geass on and off. So that's
Yeah,
one that I
Code
watch
Geass.
every now and then. That's one of my absolute all-time favorites. So
Uh, Have you seen Dragon Ball? I'm curious.
no, I haven't watched a single frame of
Wait,
Dragon Ball.
really?
Yeah,
Wow,
it never
that's
piqued my
surprising.
interest. Yeah, that and like One
Sure,
Piece were like the two like big ones that never really piqued my interest.
interesting, interesting. I think you would like. I think you'd like One Piece better, personally. Dragon Ball is very simple,
Yeah, I'm gonna
and
check
that's what
out
I
that remake whenever that starts airing of One Piece.
yeah,
But
having a curated way to watch One Piece would be good for
yeah,
some people.
yeah,
Yeah, because the regular anime is just so unwieldy. Like, there's no reason they need to make that many episodes. But
yeah,
yeah, and they had a lot of filler in between, and that pads it out. So there's really like a few hundred episodes instead of 1,000, that sort of thing.
yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know how they're going to deal with it. But yeah, that's all I got to That's all you got. I don't know. Any closing thoughts for Christmas week? Anything on your mind?
Not really. Just hoping that I can get around to like starting some big games towards the end of the year
I would
here.
say,
So
yeah, I would say if you want to get something done pretty soon, I would just do indie first because it's
yeah,
short, and you'll feel good about going, "Hey, I finished something." That was
yeah,
really quick. That was for me because
yeah.
once you get in, you're like, "Yeah, I'm into it."
Oh yeah, I'm
Um,
sure I'm gonna like. I mean, yeah, it's the
yeah,
type of game like that narrative first person
hmm
physics sort of game that I know I'm gonna like. So
yeah, it'll catch you for
yeah,
sure, and it's not long at all. I feel like if that's your best success, and then I think Metaphor, it's slightly slow, but not that slow. It's not slower than like a Persona 5 is to start, I would say.
mm-hmm.
I think it gets you in pretty quick, Metaphor does. Once you get past the first dungeon in the main town, you're like off. So um,
Yeah,
those two for sure. I'm excited to hear about that. Hopefully play those before next podcast, which will probably be um, beginning of January. So
yeah.
yeah, we're gonna have one more. Sorry, continue. Go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, keep your thought going.
We're gonna have one more main stick drift pod. One more. That's the idea. That I think we've talked about anyway, if you're okay with it. Because we
Yeah,
want to get Game of the Year done in January.
yeah,
So this next pod is going to be Noah's going to play some new games, and we're
yeah,
going to come back and kind of we're going to commiserate about some Persona stuff, some Metaphor stuff, hopefully some indie stuff if Noah can get to it.
yeah.
Um, that's going to be the next like, hey, we're done with the games we're playing, or at least we put a considerable amount of time into new stuff that we want to bring to Game of the Year. And then end of January is going to be categories, lists, um, favorite games, favorite characters, that sort of thing. We're going to really that might be a really long pod. Honestly, we're going to have a ton to talk about. I think I definitely will. I'm going to probably get into some metaphor stuff. It depends on how far you are in to metaphor. I don't want to spoil it for you, right? If you don't finish it, um, but I am going to talk at length about metaphor, if that makes sense,
Sure.
and Indiana Jones too. So, but that's kind of like the roadmap. Um, since we're kind of gearing up for Game of the Year, we're going to be playing a lot of games. If we don't drop up, I think Noah said he's going to drop some Crash Course in there. That's great. Otherwise, we're probably going to just focus on the game front, unless something strikes us. We want to drop something in there in between. We can do that. But the main focus is going to be kind of whittling down our Game of the Year stuff and really touching a lot of games that we want to finish before end of January, right?
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be the case. We're just gonna be trying to um, get things wrapped up for that game of the year podcast. So
Yeah, yeah. So not a lot of extracurriculars besides the main pod and then
yeah,
the Game of the Year stuff. So
yeah,
in February we'll probably hit it a little bit harder, but yeah, that's the idea.
yeah. That I mean, I'm gonna try to settle my thoughts on Drakengard 3 and get that out before the end of the year. Um,
Right.
and then I'm
hmm
wanting to do my crash course probably this next 2 days. I'll record my crash course for this week as well. So those will
Perfect.
this podcast and probably that crash course probably end up dropping around the same time if I had to guess. So it'll be
Perfect.
a little bit weird,
Perfect.
but that's just how we're doing it.
That's fine. That's all right. I mean,
Yeah,
that's totally fine. I mean, yeah, it's Christmas week. If people want to, the last video we put up has been doing really well for us.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for everyone
Yeah,
listening
we
to
just
that.
needed.
So
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. Tell your friends too. We really
yeah,
enjoy doing this. Um,
we've got some
and
stuff
we're
definitely
just
that
doing it.
we're planning. Big stuff in the works that we're definitely planning for the podcast and just
hmm
specials and things like that that we're kind of trying to
Yeah.
plan out. And so we got a lot of stuff that we want to do, a lot of stuff we want to talk about, a lot of stuff that we want to just kind of bring to the like consciousness, I guess. We want this to be a platform where we can do that and actually have like a sort of a voice out there in this gaming industry, because that's kind of what we're passionate about. So we just want to bring good things in the gaming industry to light, and just take a little bit of that negativity that we see a lot in this gaming industry
hmm
out of it. I think that's how I feel. I'm
Yeah.
sure Power would agree. with that. So,
Mm-hmm. 100%.
yeah,
It's one of those things. There's just like there's so much negativity.
yeah,
I want people that tune in to be excited about playing games
yeah,
because it is it's my favorite medium. It's the best way to interact with
yeah,
art, I think,
yeah,
in my opinion. Um, and I want to focus on the positives because there's so many negatives to your daily life. Let
yeah,
this be something that is good for you. Um, everything in moderation, absolutely. But games can be therapeutic.
yeah.
Games can help you. Games can be there for you. They've been there for me, and no, I know that.
Oh yeah,
When when we've been at our lowest, highest, whatever,
yeah.
they've always been there as a refuge, right?
Hatsune
And
Miku Project Diva like got me out of
yeah,
some bad situations. So
absolutely, dude. Like,
yeah,
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
yeah,
sometimes you just gotta invest yourself, right?
yeah,
And I said that on my seasonal crash course last couple weeks. The games are therapy. They are
yeah,
whatever therapy you need. You can run to a game and it'll help you work out your inner
yeah,
demons. So we're just happy to be here. We love video games, and I think next year is really going to be proof of that. Specifically
yeah.
with all the new stuff we want to do, we have
Yeah,
some ideas that we're cooking. I don't want to
yep,
overcommit and underdeliver, right?
yep,
But we talked about something pretty exciting today that I hope we can pull off.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
um,
we're just wanting to get people excited for games. That's like the main thing with this podcast. Like,
yep.
you know,
Mhm.
we went with like the stick drift because like that was a huge issue that really disappointed people. With the Switch, the Joy-Con stick drift. And that is a bummer. But like, there's also a lot of things that are being done to make sure that sort of thing doesn't happen again. That there's innovations that are coming out of that, like Hall effect joysticks, things like that. Is like,
Yeah. Yeah, corrections to
um,
a problem, yeah,
yeah.
totally.
So
And we want to be the change we want to see, ultimately.
yeah,
That's really what it is. Like
yeah,
stick drift is like kind of our motto where it's just like as the world kind of batters you left and right, you're kind of rolling with the punches. A drift is literally like you're coming out of a hard turn gracefully and into another. Like you're
yeah,
just you're tapering off danger and leveling yourself out. That's what games are.
yeah,
You're evening yourself with the road again. Um, and I think that is the genus for what we want to get at, especially in 2025, because
yeah.
I think 2025 is going to be a wild year for a lot of things. Not to get too political, but the video game business is going to be affected by these tariffs coming, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit. We don't want to get too topical about
Yeah,
things, but it's going to affect the Switch and new games and new systems ultimately. So
yeah,
that's going to be a big talking point going forward for sure.
yeah,
Um, and mostly, I am excited for next year. I think
yeah,
next year it's going to be. This year was like secretly really good. Like it
yeah.
just really snuck up on me how good this year was. But next year, I think we're going to be blown away. Like it feels like it could be
It's gonna be a
generational.
very bombastic year for games. I think like there's a
It
lot
feels
of
like video
crazy
games were
stuff.
like waiting for this next year. They're like, we're
Yeah,
here now. Like we've been waiting and gestating, right?
yeah,
Um, totally. It feels like Nintendo specifically is going to be like,
yeah.
we're here,
Nintendo's
baby.
really
Yeah.
been like hitting the all right, release the remake, release the remaster, and so
hmm
because they're trying to
I'm.
they're trying to keep all their stuff
Mhm.
hush hush that they're working on the big stuff. So
Yeah, and it's been a while since we've seen a Nintendo trying to sell a console. Like it genuinely has been.
mm-hmm.
It's been a long time. They could have made a new Switch. They could have,
Yeah,
but it was already selling so well and so many people bought it and so many, people bought two of them, three of them even,
yeah.
you know. I mean, I myself have bought three Switches. Like,
I
that's
still have my
alone.
launch one,
Uh,
but
yeah, right.
it
I,
still
I
works
bought
just
an
fine.
original.
So
Totally. I bought a Switch Lite and I bought the Animal Crossing special edition, right? And that's the one I'm
yeah,
still rocking now, 4 or 5 years later. Like
yeah.
they will get you for sure.
I
And
mean,
you know you're gonna buy it.
yeah. I want to throw this story out there. I don't think I've told this story on the podcast. So
Yeah.
I was
Please,
working
please,
at
please, please.
Walmart during the Switch release, and
Uh-huh.
I worked that evening shift, so I would get off at like around 12. That release time for the Switch, and so I got off work, and I was actually what I was excited for that day was Breath of the Wild releasing for the Wii
Sure.
U. I had the Wii U,
Mm-hmm.
and they hadn't really supported a whole lot. I was kind of bummed out with them already going to a new console. I felt like the Wii U still had potential, but I went in there. I was like, hey, you guys got any copies of Breath of the Wild Wii U? And they're like, no, we just got it on the Switch. I'm like, well, I guess I'm buying a Switch, and so I bought it. Right. And I made the right choice buying the Switch.
100%.
Yeah.
It has been one of the best purchases I've ever made of anything. It truly has paid dividends. Like, they have supported the absolute crap out of it.
Everything's on the Switch. Everything is on the Switch.
And that's the difference to this generation. Everything was split between different SKUs the last couple with the Wii U, 3DS, what have you. Seeing them focus every version of their efforts on one console has been so exciting. And seeing a hungry Nintendo again with a new console system while bringing all the greatness of the Switch along with it.
Yeah.
Man, I am
that
just
Switch 2
absolutely
is gonna be
stoked.
It's going to be a monster of a console for sure.
It's going to be monstrous, dude. And it's going to be so good. I think people are not prepared for how
I don't think they're going to screw up this Switch 2. I don't think they can.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think they can afford to screw it up. I don't think they will screw it up.
Yeah, they're just making a better version of the thing they are selling the most of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just they're doing the right thing, and I think they're just probably going to just do this going forward. Like, this is the Nintendo way to do it.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if they did a proper home console ever again.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
And that's fine. I think this is a good design space for Nintendo.
This is the one gimmick in video games that worked, man. Like, really.
Yeah. They finally figured one out. I love the presentation, right, with the Nintendo sort of innovation up to the Switch, where they're talking about the NES and the SNES and the N64. They're talking about the innovations on that. They're like, yeah, we had 4 console ports or controller ports on the N64 for multiplayer. Then they go to the GameCube and they say, we put a carrying handle on the GameCube for portability. That always gets me. We put a carrying handle on the GameCube for portability. That was like their big innovation.
All the amount of times you're taking it over for LAN parties, like, what?
hey, hang on. I did take my GameCube a lot to friends' houses when I was a kid, so it was a very portable console. I did a lot.
I love, in terms of form factor, I love the way the GameCube looks.
Yeah, and it was super easy to just like unhook it from the TV, hook it into a friend's TV, and just start playing games. So
yeah, it's one of the last like fun consoles. I genuinely believe
plug in and play. Yeah, that's what the GameCube was. You just plug it in, and you play.
I think that generation was so diverse, just like the Xbox and its unwieldiness, the PS2 and its both iterations. It's kind of dynamic hardware itself, and then the different iteration with the slim version, the lid cover.
I mean, a lot of people bought it just because it was a cheaper DVD player.
It was a DVD player, people were buying the Matrix and a PlayStation 2, and they were playing freaking Fanavision on it. Who knows, like nobody was
Fanavision.
Everyone
was
getting it
playing
only
Fanavision.
Oh yeah, that was their favorite game. But yeah, the GameCube is like the last fun console, like genuinely.
Yeah.
I feel like Switch is getting back to that a little bit,
The Switch is for fun. And like it's not it's not trying to be anything else. It's just trying to be a console.
It's not. Yeah. Whereas PlayStation and Xbox have become kind of media centers. The Switch is like, we have YouTube, but like, come on, you want to play games on this, right? So
I use my PS4 a lot as like a media center. Like it works great for that.
Yeah.
But
I use my PS5 every day. Yeah, for sure.
But at the end of the day, like
your Switch is exclusively video games.
Yeah, it's a console. You bought that because you wanted to play video games. You wanted to play.
Yes.
I mean, things like Mario and Animal Crossing aren't real video games. But you bought it for those anyway. There's an internet post out there that always cracks me up. Have you seen that one? That's like, you're not a real gamer if you play Mario. Animal Crossing is not a real game. It's pretty great.
Oh, whatever. Miss me with that crap.
It's a pretty great one, but yeah.
Anyway, I think this year, the fact that we started this podcast late last year is going to only be good for us, just me and you, because we're going to have so much to talk about. We're both buying Switch day one. I just know that. Like, we are going to.
Yeah.
If we can. Hopefully they have enough on hand.
Right.
It's going to be, hopefully it's not like a PS5 situation where we have shortages or whatever. I
Yeah.
remember getting my PlayStation 5 and with it being short quantities, I got mine at Target. I was like, oh my god, I had to like hunt for this thing for like 5 months,
Yeah.
and I got it. I hope the Switch isn't scarce like that. Hopefully, they make plenty of them.
Right.
Um, yeah, yeah, I'm stoked. I think Nintendo is they're going to show some stuff that nobody knows about. I genuinely think that. I think they have done such a good job with leaks lately that they are going to shock people with what they have. I
Mm-hmm.
genuinely think that. Who knows what that's going to be? I do think that that Donkey Kong thing might be a red herring, and I think it might have just been the port of returns,
Mm-hmm.
and we're really going to see what they've been working on. I
Yeah.
genuinely think that.
That's smart
Who
too.
knows
Like
though?
throw out a red herring like that, and keep
Yeah,
people off the trail of like the big games. So
yeah, for sure. It's going to be an exciting year, man. I'm super excited to bring into it. But yeah, this is the last time you'll hear us this year. So thank you
yeah.
for joining us for the time you have. It's been an awesome 2024. We're going to talk about the games that we love the most in January,
Yep.
not in this next pod, but the pod following.
Yep.
Noah's got his crash course going up as well
Yep.
as his dreaded backlog at some point. Whenever
Yep.
he finishes them, no problem. We're in the holiday lull. We're going to play some video games and we're going to have some
Okay.
fun. I'll tell you what. And by this time next by this next pod, beginning of January, we're probably going to have all of our categories ready to go. We're going to talk about how we arrived to them, I think,
Yeah.
and we're going to go like, hey, this is what's going on in this pod. We're going to talk about that as
Yeah.
well as our kind of like final regular season thoughts about the new games we've been playing. So for Stick Drift, I've been Power Glover, and that's Noah Rada. Any closing thoughts for the gamers out there, Noah? Any cool things? Any plugs?
Yeah. Just keep on gaming, and don't let anyone tell you
Yes.
that Bubsy 3D is a bad game.
No. Bubsy 3D is the best game of all time. Did I not tell you? It's my favorite
Yes.
game.
Yes. Let's
Yes, I
go.
know. I know you were waiting. I that's why I didn't want to talk about it at length because I had to admit it to you here on this podcast. It's my favorite game of all time. So I'll tell Sony Ben they'll give me a free copy, right?
Yes.
Um, yeah, yeah, that's our motto for sure. Keep gaming. Always
Yeah.
keep gaming. It is games are awesome, man.
Yeah.
I love this year. This year was so great.
Gaming's
So
not going anywhere. It's maybe like the live service games, maybe that'll start dying down a bit. We don't need
maybe
500 live service games, but the whole industry's not going to crash, even if
no,
the live
it's
service games crash. And
gaming
even
has
if it
been
did,
is
the
so
indies aren't
healthy.
going anywhere. People are just going
Yeah.
to keep innovating, and they're going to keep making
Hmm.
indies. Those aren't going anywhere. Like you will find
Yeah.
your niche in gaming if you just look hard enough.
Straight up, like the industry is in turmoil with people losing their jobs left and right. But you have to understand, to kind of close out this year, gaming has never been stronger, like straight
Yeah,
up. Like people are playing more games than ever.
yeah,
They are playing a lot of the same games for sure, but the industry as a whole is very strong. And with indies supporting the middle and the big games releasing when they can and new consoles on the horizon, we got a lot to look forward to in
yeah.
2024. Again, it's it's been an awesome year. So
Yep.
ring in the new year with us next time on Stick Drift. We'll be on Pod 7. That's exciting. Almost 2 full months of just the Stick Drift alone. That's exciting. But yeah, like I said, keep gaming. Keep gaming. Appreciate you guys.
Yep. See ya.